The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
A new report in The Athletic states that the Jets could cut or bench Aaron Rodgers before the season is over. We'll talk about that and much more. It never ends, baby. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go. Saturday show. Click the like button and, of course, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. We got a lot to talk about, Jet fans, and joining us right now is one of our good friends on this channel, Jet content creator and draft expert, Dom C, who joins the show. What's up, Dom? Last time I saw you, we were in London together. We were
looking
hopeful that
good.
The Jets were going to get a win and, get the season back on track after the Denver loss, and little did we know
the rails would come off.
Oh, my God. We watched the last game Robert Saleh coached as the head coach of the Jets, and, well, the rest is history. Here we are, 3-8, and a report out today that Rodgers wants to play next year, but not for the Jets, and the Jets maybe will cut or IR Rodgers before this season is over. It never ends.
Never ends. And it's funny you say that because, like, London, I mean, the anticipation of that game being the one that kind of turned everything around as we started this, this forward journey towards breaking this 13-year playoff, getting in the playoffs for the first time for 13 years. Who would have thunk that it was just the beginning of the end, man? And you said it perfectly earlier, backstage. Like, this season's been hard. This season has sucked. This team sucks right now. Everything about it from top to bottom. So, kudos to you, man, for just grinding and talking about this crap twice a day, every day. I know it's your job, but man, it is rough, dude.
It's as bad as it's ever been. And, the story comes out today. It basically says what a lot of us, have basically thought, that, the Jets are going to try and move on from Aaron Rodgers in all likelihood. But what's interesting is Rossini's reporting in The Athletic that they could cut him outright or place him on IR. If I'm the Jets, I don't really see what the point in doing that is right now. Like, I would at least see what he looks like after the bye week. But, you have the story that came out earlier in the week. Now this one today, Rodgers will address this at some point. I wonder what he'll say. It's just such a mess right now. I don't know. If you told me we never see Rodgers play another game for the Jets again at this point, I guess I wouldn't be shocked as we sit here on November 23rd.
Not only would I not be shocked, it wouldn't floor me. But Jake, the sad part is like, I don't know how I wouldn't be all that upset either. You know what I mean? If it's not going to work, if it's not going anywhere, for me, it's time to rip the Band-Aid off and drain the swamp, baby. Get it, fresh start. There's so many layers and so many levels to this thing, man. Forget about the fact that we have to now try to coerce GMs and head coaches to come in here and deal with, like, Woody with the horns on his head. But the strain and of relationship with Aaron, and Aaron has so much influence on, guys on the team. What does this mean for our young stars who are up for contract extension soon? I mean, it could, it could get worse before it gets better. And that's the true hard fact of this, is that it still, we thought we were at bottom when that first slam piece from Rossini and Rosenblatt came out. I don't know if we're there yet. There's still a couple floors down.
Yeah, there's still 6 weeks to go. Like, there's going to be more things that come out. And, there's one thing I do want to get into here before we get back to the Rodgers conversation. So in this story that I'm referencing that came out this morning in The Athletic, it says, quote, hours after being fired, Joe Douglas went fishing at the Jersey Shore, and it's, quote, the happiest he sounded in a long time. The revisionist history by the people putting out these stories, basically just listening to Joe Douglas or his agent or anyone connected in that front office, making it out to be like Joe Douglas was in such a bad situation and oh my God, he had no control over what went wrong for the Jets is such a bunch of nonsense. Here's Joe Douglas's resume. All right. The Joe Douglas truthers out there, and Joe Douglas and his agent and all these people trying to just blame Woody Johnson for everything. Here's the resume for the GM who had full autonomy from 2019 until really this offseason, if you even believe some of the reports that, oh, he didn't really want Tyron Smith or he didn't want Mike Williams. He was influenced by the fans. I mean, come on. He's 30-64. They haven't sniffed the playoffs, haven't come close. The most amount of wins they won in the season under Joe Douglas has been 7 3 times. Give me a break with the, oh, Joe Douglas is so relieved that he's no longer the GM. He's relieved because he knew he was going to be fired. He got paid generational wealth, and now he'll go and join some other team's front office and be a personnel guy for them. Let's stop with the, oh, Woody ruined it all for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. Their records speak for itself. They had more than enough time. Get lost with the revisionist history on how bad it was for Saleh and Joe Douglas to work for Woody Johnson. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that Joe Douglas deserves, all of our, woe is me. I mean, it's not. I think you hit the hammer on the head. You hit the nail on the head. This is a results-based industry. Good Lord, my mouth today. It's a results-based industry. And, what results did we get from Joe Douglas? We got a great draft in 2022. You got a couple picks that look like they can pan out after the fact. But the roster building, as a whole was always Band-Aids on bullet holes, fix a there's an issue. You apply and dump resources in that issue, and that causes another issue. I mean, it was a systemic problem here with Joe Douglas over and over and over. I wanted to like him. We loved, we called him Trader Joe, and some of those deals that he made, we wanted to put bronze statues up at JetLife Stadium for him. But the end result was 6 years. He got almost 100 games, if not 100 games. And, he has the second worst winning percentage of all GMs ever in Jets history. So, I mean, you're right. It's not woe is me, Joe Douglas. It's listen, you're given an opportunity. It didn't work out. It's time to move on. It was time to move on. And whether or not it was time to move on week 11 of the season, that you can argue that one way or another. But the writing was on the wall when they didn't extend them in the offseason. It was they had to get off to a hot start, or it was all over anyway. It was a sinking ship.
Yeah, and ultimately firing him now, he should be lucky. You go get a head start on your next job, just like the Jets are trying to get a head start on the GM search because he wasn't going to be here next year. So the revisionist history with a general manager who's 30-64. Give me a break. I'm so sick of it. But the other, report in the story is Rodgers wants to play next year, but not with the Jets. This reads like the Rodgers camp being like, well, we don't want to be here anyway, so you can't fire us because we quit, that type of thing. Because it feels like the Jets themselves weren't going to bring Aaron Rodgers back. And I think a lot of that is just simply because of the cap ramifications of carrying Aaron Rodgers on this team for another year, which I've spoken at length about on this show. And look, if Aaron wants to play next year, that's his right. I just look around the league and, barring him looking a lot better here, these final 6, if he even plays in these final 6, because that's now up for grabs. I don't know what team is bringing in Aaron Rodgers next year as their starting quarterback.
Listen, I'll say this, that there's probably some, and we'll talk about this more maybe later in the show or in future shows, I'm sure. But, it's a real polarizing, somewhat weak class, not weak, but weak, I guess is a fair word, quarterback class in this draft class. So, there could be teams that either choose not to take quarterback or pass on quarterback early that might kick the tires on Rodgers. I'm just off the top of my head, teams that are, could Minnesota, if they don't bring back Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy, who just had his second knee surgery, could they kick the tires on him maybe for a year to bridge over until McCarthy's ready? Does Tennessee see him as a better option than Will Levis? There's not many more after that, right? I mean, Rodgers is going to want to go into a situation. He's not going to want to go into a situation where he's in a rebuild. So, I mean, I don't know, man. You're right. Like, he can want to play all he wants, but the options are going to be limited for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, and ultimately, like, there's a case to be made. Hey, just bring him back. he's the best option you're going to have next year. New staff, maybe, someone comes in, the defense is a lot better. But I go back to this for those who want Rodgers back specifically with the Jets. The ramifications of carrying him for an extra year, the cons outweigh the pros. Like, why would you want Aaron Rodgers to now be a $63 million dead cap charge in 2026? Or if you spread it out over 2 years, it would then become $21 million in 2026 and $42 million in 2027. If Aaron Rodgers was the old Aaron Rodgers, yeah, obviously you take him back next year with only a $23 million cap hit. You don't care about 2027 because you're trying to win again next year. But it's obvious they're not going to be able to win with him as their quarterback next year. At best, they're a little better than they are this year. I don't really see it. So I just feel like it's run its course. The Jets have found themselves in these messes by, keeping a coach and not the GM, keeping the GM and not the coach. Like, start over at the 3 most important positions in your organization: head coach, GM, and quarterback. I feel like that's where this is headed.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I don't know how you feel, Jake. I think being rid of Aaron Rodgers might be more enticing in your GM head coach search, right? I can't imagine Rodgers being very agreeable with a new offense, learning a new system, not doing what he's done for the past, 19, 20 years in the league, however long he's played. And I can't see a coach that, might be younger or the same age as Aaron Rodgers coming in here and trying to work with him. I think the best case scenario for all parties is a clean break. And if we're going to do that, if you ask me, I'm not spreading it out. I'm taking all $49 million next year. Cut your losses. Get rid of all of the guys that are going to have, ramifications with Rodgers not being here. That means you move on from Lazard. Probably means you move on from Tay Adams. There's other guys here with guaranteed money that you can move on from. Greg the Leg. Take all the cap hit, even if it's, 75, 80, $85 million. Understand have the head coach and the GM who hopefully are on the same page and work with synergy and help them understand that, listen, 2025 is going to be rough. But 2026, the future looks good. The cap's in good space. All that dead weight has moved on, and you go from there. That's what I would do. That personally, that's the way I would handle it.
I'm going to read you an excerpt from the story in The Athletic, Dom, so we go more in depth on it. And if anyone has a question for myself or Dom, and any draft-related question, Dom's as plugged in as anyone. He already sent me the start of his draft guide that we're going to be announcing some big plans for on this channel in the future. So I'm starting to study up on the draft already, thanks to our guy Dom C. So any draft questions, fire those off in the chat. And if you're watching live right now, please like the video and subscribe. Thanks to everyone supporting the channel. Quote, I'm told Johnson has lost confidence in Rodgers' ability to lead the team to their first playoff berth in 14 years, a drought that stands as the longest in major North American professional sports leagues. There are some on the team who believe everyone is simply tiptoeing around the fact Rodgers isn't the same player anymore. I'm told no decisions have been made yet, but it appears increasingly likely that the 4-time MVP, who's banged up, could be placed on injured reserve or possibly benched over the next few weeks. Hold on. Damn you, Athletic. Your app sucks. Hold on. Let's see. Signaling the end of his disastrous time with the Jets. Some around the league say they won't be surprised if Rodgers is cut in season. As for Rodgers, his relationship with the owner has been strained for months. That's not a secret in the building or locker room. At this point, after conversations with sources with the league and around the league, my understanding is that Rodgers still wants to play in 2025, just not for the New York Jets. I mean, good luck to Aaron. Didn't work. That's how I look at it. Like, it's better if he moves on. It's better for the Jets in all likelihood if they move on. I mean, I was still holding out to some hope. Hey, maybe he gets healthy over the bye week. He plays well down the stretch here. And it's like, okay, you know what? He was playing poorly because he was hurt. Bring him back next year. Draft a guy behind him. Have Jordan Travis there. And, like, you have your succession plan in place. But it just doesn't feel likely. If I had to guess, I don't know if we see Aaron Rodgers play again for the Jets. Just that's my feel right now on this Saturday here.
That's crazy. It's not a crazy take. It's crazy to think about, though. And I don't know. Like, listen, I'll say this, and I think the chat has, pretty much hammered the same thing home. You got to take you can't trust or believe everything that you read, especially coming out of Athletic for some reason. And I don't know, Jake, you're more tuned into the media than I am. I don't know what the big beef with Diana Rossini and Aaron Rodgers or Diana Rossini and the Jets are, but when there's a slam piece, she's always at the core of it. She's the one who has these sources in the buildings, this, that, and the other thing. And, so I take everything with a grain of salt, believe half of what you read and 50% of what you see. Is that the old adage they say? So how much of this is true? I don't know. But just the idea that the Aaron Rodgers experiment going into next week's going to be week 13 could be completely done is wild, man. It's absolutely wild, but I guess it's not outlandish. We'll find out Tuesday. He's on what's his face's show on Tuesdays. Why can't I think of this guy's name?
McAfee.
McAfee,
We'll see what he says about it when he's obviously asked about this. I mean, if it's over for him, we're talking about 3 wins over 2 years, all this hype and excitement, and it led to 3 wins. If you think
4 wins, technically he won the Buffalo game week 1.
If you want to give him that one, sure, 4 wins.
Oh man, how nuts, dude! How nuts! Listen, and again, not to divert back to Joe Douglas. Listen, Joe Douglas, he drafted the quarterback, and now there's rumors that he didn't really want Zach. This, that, and other thing. I don't buy it. You missed on Zach Wilson. I was in full agreement with the pivot. You saw a window, you pivoted, you moved on from Zach. You probably a year too late, but you moved on from him. You knew it wasn't going to be the guy. It wasn't the pivot, and you pivoted, and this didn't work. Okay, so Joe Douglas isn't going to survive this, and Woody's got to realize if any of this holds, half of its weight in salt. Woody's got to realize that the best thing to do is just rip the Band-Aid off and move forward. Whether it's now week 13 or whether it's, to start next season, just let's put this ugly chapter, Jake, I'm in my 40s, man. This was the hardest season for me that I could remember. Not the 1 in 15, co-tight years, not the Adam Gase, this one, because the expectations were so sky high and the talent on the roster lived up to those expectations. So to be where we are right now, for me, this has been a really, really difficult season as a Jets fan. I'm ready to turn the page. I'm ready to swallow my pride, eat my crow, and just kind of try to chug forward and move on, even if it takes, a year or 2 or a few.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching live right now, click that like button. We're talking with Dom C. You watch Dom on the Talking Jets panel. You watch Dom on his own YouTube channel, Project Prospect. Any draft-related questions, fire those in the chat, and we'll get to that as well. I do want to get to a couple super chats here. Jets Carpetbagger says, Woody needs to be benched or cut.
Listen, that's not happening. We can we can say that all we want, but maybe the best thing that's happening is what that little caricature shows is that for at least 4 years, keep your fingers crossed, Woody won't be able to medal unless he's medaling from across the pond.
Nick Shine in the house in Rhode Island, having Raisin Canes for the first time, and I had to tune into my guys. Have a great show, fellas. Nick Shine, we appreciate you. Enjoy the Raisin Canes. Hopefully you got the Caniac combo, and you were not a madman, and you substituted the slaw for either extra Texas toast or fries. If you did that, you're a great American. If you didn't, you should be locked up in prison for life.
I've never had Raisin Canes, so I'll take your word for it. You seem to know a lot about it, so I'm sure it's pretty good.
Oh, I live and die on Raisin Canes, Dom. At least I did in Houston. I haven't had it nearly as much since I moved back to New York, but I do know there's one in Times Square in Penn Station that I've frequented it a few times.
Gotcha.
Citybird says, is Tyrod Taylor a good bridge quarterback if you don't like the draft next year?
So on my theory before that I would take as much of the dead cap hit next year, there's a couple reasons for that. One, I think, like I said, it's the most enticing to the new GM head coach combination. Their future is bright. You're going to you follow what, kind of what Denver did. Listen, Denver has $82 million in dead cap this year. They're a playoff team. Coaches matter, right? And to get the right coach, I think you have to have the right, kind of relationship and synergy with the right GM to help build the team. And you're not going to get those guys with, a kind of a rocky roster or a rocky cap situation. And I think after 2025, if you bite your bullet and take your medicine, you have neither of those. You have a decent building blocks on the roster and your cap space is clear. So part of that is you have 2 quarterbacks on the roster right now for less than $7 million, right? A bridge and a young guy. I'm not saying one of those guys is going to be your franchise. No, you can, but if you don't want to take your quarterback early in this draft, if you want to, pass on it, and even if you take like a third or a fourth round quarterback, young guy, stab just to put in there and put competition, you already have a bridge quarterback. You already have a young guy. Let's see what they can do. Develop, put them all on the field and let them work it out. At worst, even if you take a first round quarterback, which I probably think right now I'd lean the Jets won't, depending on where they pick. I would guess that they won't. But even if you did, you can do exactly what New England did with Jacoby Brissett. You start Tyrod Taylor and before you hand the reins over to the rookie quarterback. Come 4 games, 5 games, half the season is done. So that roster building piece of having 2 quarterbacks on the roster already cheap is really beneficial, I think.
What are your thoughts on this quarterback class coming out? I know it's early. Things change once we get to the offseason. We see it all the time. Senior Bowl guys' stock increases. Combine guys' stocks always increase. Pro days, all the rumors. And before you know it, we go from, wow, I don't know if any quarterback is really deserving of being a top 10 pick to you get 3, sometimes even more than that, as we've seen in the past. But you study this year-round, Dom. Your early thoughts, and I'll say it again, early because things always change on this quarterback class coming out.
Not my favorite. I shouldn't say that. It's not that it's not my favorite. It's not of the level of some of the past classes that we've had in the past. Like, last year's class I thought was really special. I thought you had a bunch of guys that you could be pretty confident that they could come in and be really solid pros. I don't know if you see that in this class. I think you see a lot of upside. I think there's, probably about 7 quarterbacks. Probably about 7, maybe 8 quarterbacks that you'll see drafted on days 1 or 2 because the quarterbacks are always pushed up. I'm not saying they all have day 1 or 2 grades. And a lot of them, the catch about them is that there's still something missing. They're not, they haven't played a lot. I'll use a guy for an example, Garrett Nussmeier, great quarterback, live arm, gunslinger mentality, son of a coach. His dad's a quarterback coach for the Eagles. He's got that pedigree. He's only got like 8 starts in college. He's only a junior. He can go back to school. Some of these guys in this, what happens with this quarterback class is really going to determine if they go back. Jalen Milroe is another one who can go back to school. Drew Alar from Penn State is another one that can go back to school. Garrett Nussmeier, like I talked about. And I think realistically for their betterment, I think it would be best if they all went back to school. I don't think they will. So the top of this class, you're going to see 2 guys taken in the top 10, maybe 3. I think for sure 2. I lean Shedeur Sanders is my favorite quarterback. He's earned my highest grade, of all the guys in this quarterback class. Cam Ward's a close second, and then there's a gap, and then I have Jalen Milroe. But Shedeur Sanders is that high floor guy. I really like what he does. Between the sidelines, like you can tell he's got that. He's got that focus. He's got that. That dog mentality that I talked about. The guy's a warrior. Like he's a good football player. Lacks a little bit of that oomph on the arm, like not the strongest arm, but definitely the most developed in terms of how to play quarterback, pre-snap, post-snap adjustments, the way he throws with anticipation, the way he uses the middle of the field. Just not he doesn't have like the strongest arm. I liken him to, for us Jets fans, I think he's a little bit more athletic of a Chad Pennington. He's got a little bit of he's a little bit better than a little better Chad Pennington. When I say that, I'm talking about the way Chad Pennington played quarterback, kind of that cerebral game, always kept the ball, like not a turnover machine, didn't, wasn't going to put the ball in harm's way. And then you got the flip side, the guy Cam Ward, who's been very flashy this year. He's been, he's the hot name. And he's kind of the polar opposite. He's a little bit of an improviser. He's got a little bit of that, Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes swag in his game. He's got a really, really good arm. But he is, and he also has he plays with a lot of moxie. He plays very aggressive. and he's been able to get away with that in college. Think really young Brett Favre, like gun, a cannon on his arm and not afraid to make any throws, but has too many turnover worthy plays. That stuff's not going to translate very well to the next level. So that's what the big concern for me with Cam Ward. But between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I just think Shedeur Sanders plays quarterback right now a little bit better, understands, like I said, the way he uses all the field, the way he gets through his progressions, the way he uses the middle field, he throws with touch, he throws with anticipation. So I would lean Shedeur Sanders. Now, if we're talking about for the Jets, I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is coming here. I don't know if you want to bring, you're trying to clean up all this nonsense. And the reality is, and I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders is nonsense, but the idea that there's noise that follows Shedeur Sanders with Dion and him being such a presence in the media and in the football world, I don't know if that's what the Jets need. But from what I understand, the Jets have been to Colorado. Jet scouts have been to Colorado, have seen Colorado play 3 times. Now, he's not the only prospect coming out of Colorado, but you can you can kind of piece it all together. Some of these teams where the Jets have had scouts at multiple times happen to be schools of quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders is definitely in their radar. I don't know if he's the best fit here for New York, but between this class, he's the guy that that graded out the best for me.
I do wonder, Dom, what happens to the scouts that are still with the Jet organization? Does a new GM come in and basically keep some of them because they've been working on evaluating this class, or like how would that transition work? Because you mentioned the Jet scouts have been at Colorado, for example. Well, yeah, that was under the Joe Douglas tenure. What if they bring in, Ray Agnew, or they bring in John Dorsey? What happens to some of those scouts and all the work they've already done?
Well, hang on, I get an echo here. Can you hear me?
I see you twice, Dom. All
right, I'm going to leave.
For the first time ever, a guest is on. No, you're gone. Never mind. You fixed it. We were about to have double Dom C, which would have been tremendous. Only I'm the one who saw that. You hear me, Dom? No, Dom can't hear me. This is something. And he gone. All right, we'll get Dom back on. He was having some internet problems before the show, so we'll get that situated. But I do want to acknowledge this comment here from GMS. Raising Cane's is trash. Your day is done, sir.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the Sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
We ain't messing around today, baby. I got a short leash. Dom C's back with us. Hello, Dom. I just had to send someone to the hole in your absence.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, man. As I told you, we're having issues with the power here, and internet is a little bit wonky. So I apologize, bro.
No, you're all good. This next super chat comes in from 25. It says, we have a chance to have 2 young quarterbacks learn and develop behind a proven vet in Tyrod with a new coach and GM combo. When have the Jets had that? Well, I was saying this to you off air, Dom. It has been a while. I can't think of the last time the Jets are going into an offseason, in all likelihood, replacing the GM, the coach, and the quarterback all in one.
Yeah. It's crazy. And to this super chat here, I think that's a good idea. I think Travis or Tyrod Taylor, knows his role here. He knows that he's not in this thing long term. And I don't know him personally, but to me, he seems like a guy who would welcome kind of being that mentor to these young guys. I mean, listen, Travis is more like Tyrod Taylor than he is anything like Aaron Rodgers. I think if you have any inclination in really seeing what Jordan Travis is about, it's perfect to pair him up with Tyrod Taylor. I think you're going to get the most out of him. Like I said, during the draft process last year, he was my pro comp for Jordan Travis, Tyrod Taylor. That's the kind of player that he is. I think, if you get a good backup quarterback out of him, I think you're going to, and a guy who can come in and start games and not lose them, not be awful for you, then I think it's a home run, as a 5th, 6th round pick. I never thought Jordan Travis was the pick to be the franchise quarterback. I think it was a throw to kind of work and develop into someone who has really good skills and could be a part of the team, whether it's a starting quarterback or not. I think he could be a part of a team for a while.
Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A huge shout out to everyone who supports this channel and joins the Patreon, patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you keep us afloat. Shout out to Victor, Paul, Meadowman, Justin, Tom, Sir Dude Pico, Mickey, and Phil for being our most recent Patreon subscribers. If you sign up for the year, you save 15%. So just head over to patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. And programming note, tomorrow I'm on ESPN New York from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So a 4-hour Sunday soiree on the Jets bye week. So we'll have plenty to talk about with the Jets, Rodgers, and a whole lot more. So tune into the radio show tomorrow from 4 p.m. all the way up until 8 p.m. on 880 ESPN New York. If you want to call the show, Gustbuster Hotline's open. Before we get to the calls, Dom, your early thoughts here on the right GM candidates, the right coaching candidates you would look at, just your thoughts on where the Jets go from here and what has been one of the darkest seasons, if not the darkest season in this franchise's history.
Yeah. In terms of the GM, it's tough. Like my whole thing is I want there to be a relationship. I want there to be some sort of synergy. I would love to kind of pair up a GM and a head coach together from the same organization. Guys who have either worked together or have that, that shared vision and shared focus. You look at like what happens over there in San Francisco with Lynch and Shanahan. Those guys are in lockstep together. And that's kind of what, I embody my future GM and head coach to be like. Now, as for candidates, I don't know, man. Like, listen, I'm being who I am. I'm always going to lean towards, former scouts and pro personnel guys. Mike Borgonzi in Kansas City is he's one. I think he's been, he's kind of learned from a lot of the best. He's been a part of, obviously just damn near building a dynasty franchise there in Kansas City. I think John Spytek, the assistant GM in Tampa Bay, is another really interesting name. He's young. He's got a scouting background. He's done a lot of work. And it seemed, and again, I might favor him a little bit because Tampa Bay over the past couple drafts have drafted all the guys that I absolutely adored. So, that might lean a little that way, but I think Spytek would be a good candidate. I got to be honest with you. I don't know much about Ray Agnew. I know he's another hot name, like the assistant GM from Detroit. Listen, is it out of the realm? Like, bring Chad Alexander back. Can you bring him in to talk to him? Maybe it's an opportunity that he's willing to come back in. Probably not, since they just did his mentor and Joe Douglas dirty.
Well, do you want another guy though that's connected to the front office Joe Douglas put together? I kind of want someone fresh. Yeah, listen. I mean, I think Chad Alexander was a little bit different than that. I just like the young, the young, energetic focus that that he I think can bring. Like, yeah, listen, he's probably a long shot. I don't think he's going to come here. He got out of this before the shit blew up. So listen, Spytek and Borgonzi are the two guys that would be at the top of my list. I don't know much. I know Dorsey was, he kind of fizzled out in Cleveland. I don't know much about him. I don't know much about Agnew. So as for GMs, like, that's the way I would go. And I would lean, if I could pair guys up, I'd talk to Liam Cohen, the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator, young, very good offensive mind. I love the way that offense has adjusted with big pieces out left and right, and they just keep going. Like, listen, are they 9-1? No, but they're creative and they work. That team works with the hand that they're dealt. So he's a guy I would bring in and talk to if you could pair him up with Spytek. And then there's, this is one I talked about, probably about a month ago. Like, I know people aren't going to like it, but if you bring Matt Nagy in, who's an above 500 coach who brought Chicago to the playoffs, if you could pair up him and Borgonzi, I'd be okay with that as well. Man, the fan base, I think, would revolt if they hired Nagy just based on what his reputation was leaving Chicago.
Yeah. But you know what? Again, he's got a better than 500 winning percentage.
He does. He made the playoffs twice in 3 years.
He made the playoffs twice in 3 years, more than we could say here. And again, it's not that I'm pining for Matt Nagy. He's not the top coach on my list, but I like that idea of bringing in a GM head coach combo. The one coach that I'm be a fan of, or I'd be very much behind if they brought him in, and I don't think it's going to happen for a bevy of different reasons, but I'd be in to bring in Brian Flores. Brooklyn boy, New York kid. His teams, were played hungry. His teams never quit. His teams were the least penalized teams in Miami. And again, it's that idea of kind of changing that culture of, I'm not going to, I'll use the word lazy, but I'm not saying that the Jets now are lazy, but they're very undisciplined, very laissez-faire, if you will. I don't think you're going to get that with Flores, but there's more factors to that. Flores is suing the NFL owner. So, there's a better chance that he's blacklisted from being a head coach forever than he does get another shot.
If you have a question for Dom C, write it in. Comments, questions, super chats. My top coach candidate, Dom, Mike Vrabel. I want someone with experience. I want someone that's won before. I want someone that's a culture changer. I have Flores right there on my list. And I'm curious because the fan base, it seems like the majority would be in favor, but there's a very loud amount of Jet fans who aren't on board. Where do you stand with Rex Ryan potentially being brought back?
Not a snowball shot in hell that I want Rex here. Love Rex. Love that era. Loved being a fan there, but the game has moved on. The NFL.
You don't think you could adapt to today's game?
No, I don't. That's and again, I think if we're going to cut the head off of this snake and kind of go through this rebirth of the Jets franchise, like cut ties with all that. Like, why are you going to bring back, Rex? Listen, I know that he had a couple of good years here, but it went south there. It then went south in Buffalo. He's gotten 2 defensive coordinator interviews in the past 8 years. He's been out of the league for that long. Like, it's done. I want nothing. I think that could be the biggest mistake in my eyes. Saying all that sentiment and all that emotional ties that as a Jets fan I have to those Rex Ryan years. I think bringing him back to be the head coach would be the biggest mistake.
What if he had a really good offensive coordinator with him? Would that change your mind at all?
Yep. Nope. It would not change my mind.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, the fan base is split. I see the appeal of Rex. He's not probably in my top 4, but I'll tell you what, Dom, I'd rather Rex than a first-time coach with a defensive background. Like, I can't do it again, man.
So you would take Rex over Aaron Glenn?
I would. Yes.
Yeah. Aaron Glenn's not, listen, I mean, I'm sure he's a great coach. I don't know. Like, I'm not, I don't hold any sort of sentiment because he was a Jet player here. So I don't know. I feel you. I would much rather, if I'm going to go first-time head coach, I want it to be on the offensive side, for sure. So we'll see what happens.
800 people watching live and only 150 likes, according to Rich. Rich is right. Hit that like button, baby. We'll take your super chats. We'll get into your calls as well. Appreciate everyone supporting the channel here on a Saturday morning. So much for the bye week, right, Dom? I mean, the amount of news this week already. I mean,
it's been crazy. It's been crazy. I actually forgot that we were on bye this week. Like it feels like it's been a busier week than when they have games.
Also, just a warning to everyone: we're not done with the hit pieces. I have heard from some people there's more coming, so get ready. All right, we're just scratching the surface on how big of a bleep show it's about to be here. So that's a warning to all. There'll be more, a lot more. Get ready. All right, let's take some calls. First up today is Ray in his car, it appears. Hello, Ray.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're good. What's up, Ray?
Jake, first I'd like to say I really enjoy your show. It's therapy for me. I've been a Jet fan for over 45 years now, maybe a little less. But listen, this is where I'm coming on for. And I guess I'm in the minority now, but I think it is absolutely absurd to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. I really do. Statistically, he's having the best season quarterback in 9 years. And if he continues on this pace, he'll be one of the best quarterbacks the Jets have had. And I'm sorry, it's the mentor, the what he brings to the table, and it's obvious that he's injured. It looks like his hamstring because he cannot complete his throws right. It looks like he's not putting his feet into it. So I don't know if it's Woody. I don't know what it is, but I'm going nuts. I enjoyed watching them. They still have an excellent team with great players. Why not go for another year with them?
Well, let me ask you this, though, Ray. Statistically, sure, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I see what you're saying, but you've watched Aaron Rodgers this year, and you think like it's gonna get better next year with another year older. Like I don't know. He's not playing well enough to justify bringing him back for Jet standards. Yeah, he's better than what they've had since 2015 Fitz, but the bar for that is so low because they've had the worst quarterback play in the league since then.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, is everybody ready to give up on this team? They have enormous amount of talent. Why not go for get a real coach in here? Because I think that's the biggest problem that they have. The coaching has been horrible, and you got to bring in an experienced coach. Listen, I go back and forth with the Rex thing, but if he really wants it, let him come in here for a year and see what he can do. But honestly, and I can speak for a lot of the fans, nobody wants to go through another rebuild. You still have the best team on paper. Bring in the right coach. Let Aaron do what he has to do. He doesn't have to be a superstar, but let's give it a shot one more year. Because to me, it was the coaching that brought them down this year. It wasn't Aaron.
Yeah, that's fair, Ray. I guess I would say this. I don't think you need to do a full-on rebuild. I think it's more of a retool. You still have some real building blocks on this team. If you have an identity next year of, hey, we're going to be a run-first offense, we're going to play good defense, and our quarterback can be competent, they can be competitive. Look at the Broncos. Look at what the Chargers did. I mean, I do agree with you. Coaching is the biggest thing. Yeah. But you've watched the show. We've talked about the cap ramifications of bringing Rodgers back for next year. I don't think it's worth dealing with the $63 million in dead cap now in 2026 and beyond for a guy who at this stage, I don't know if he's that much better than what Tyrod would be, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
good.
No, after you, Ray. I was going to say, I agree with Jake. I don't think it has to be a full rebuild in terms of the roster. What it has to be, what moving on from Rodgers and others does, is it gives you a full rebuild and reset of the salary cap situation. And I think that is the most important thing if you're going to try to build, like a consistent winning, roster and environment, because you got guys that are getting older and the cap hits are getting bigger and so on and so forth. Like Jake said, I mean, you can move on from Rodgers now and swallow $49 million, or hope that it gets better at 42 years old and then carry $63 million. Again, remember, we still also don't have our third round pick in 2026 because that's going away to Hassan Reddick. So again, it's just a lot of Band-Aids on bullet holes with, a lot of fingers and toes crossed. For me, I mean, listen, I understand the pivot, and you're not wrong, Ray, in my opinion. Like, statistically, he's the best quarterback that we've seen. But, with Rodgers comes this archaic offense, and I just don't think that you're going to convince Rodgers to come back, get healthy, come back and learn a brand new offense at 42 years old. It's not. It's going to be the show that he knows. It's going to be the show that he runs. It's going to be lots of, changes at the line, lots of hot routes, and we deal with what we deal with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, I don't disagree with some of that. I want you to just compare one thing. This is how I see this year's Jets. I see them as the same Jet team as 1996. It was a horrible year, but they had tons of talent on that team. Mm-hmm. Parcells comes in 1 year, turns them into a playoff team. And I think if you can find that coach that can be, I mean, listen, Parcells is Parcells. To me, he was the best coach of all time. I know Belichick is never coming here. I mean, I would throw $30 million at him, just say, come here, but he won't with Woody. But that's how I see it. And I still think Aaron's got a year left. And my biggest fear is that he goes somewhere else and lights it up. It would just be more of an egg on the Jets' face. So
yeah, like
thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on. I really do.
Right, I appreciate it. It'd be like, go to the Minnesota and get the Vikings to the NFC title game like Favre did. I mean, I don't see it, though, with Rodgers right now. I don't. I mean, that's why, like, I'm holding out hope, like, okay, maybe after the bye, like, his leg got healthy here and he would play well, but there's no evidence to support that. That's just me as a fan hoping that, like, it's not truly as bad as it's been this year. But I know the accounting stats don't look bad, but I'm sorry. Watch him play these last two games. He's not even attempting to throw the ball downfield. He's jittery in the pocket. He's double clutching. He's doing a lot of the same things we killed Zach Wilson for. So we got to be fair on this show. He hasn't played well. I don't care what the stats look like. If you look at the advanced, like, efficiency stats, he's like 24th or 25th in the league. And, like, I don't think it gets better magically next year if you still run this archaic offense.
That's it. And that's a big problem, Jake. It's like, I agree. He's probably, he's probably banged up. He's probably been playing hurt. You're probably not getting 100% of, from the physical aspect of Aaron Rodgers, but that's not the problem for me, it's the offense. It's 1989 style. There's nothing to it. It's as vanilla as it gets. He and listen, I'm not saying he shouldn't have control to pick and choose what he does here. Like make his calls and whatnot, but everything is a hot route. You see, everything's a quick throw. There's nothing past, there's nothing downfield. Historically, and this year, kind of, replicates that. He doesn't play. He doesn't use the middle of the field. It's just the offense has to go. The offense has to go. If you can give me Aaron Rodgers stats with a new offensive coordinator, yeah, maybe you could sell me on it, but that's just not going to be the case. It's just not going to be the case. I'm ready to turn the page. I'm ready to turn the page.
Well, the thing is, originally it was like if he's willing to come back, running a modern offense, I'm open to it. But the more you look at what the cap would be and just how this year has gone and the fact that they're going to have a new regime coming in, it just might not make sense. It really might not make sense because then you're dealing with, instead of $49 million of dead cap, which you could take all next year or spread it out over 2, we're talking about $63 million in dead cap, which you could take all in 1 year in 2026 or spread it out in 2026 and 2027. And if you do that, Dom, $42 million dead cap in 2027, when Aaron Rodgers, who might not be very good again next year, is now going to hurt your salary cap for 2026 and 2027, when in reality he was shot 4 plays in at the end of 2023, and we're still allowing this guy to impact the financial ramifications 4 years after that. That's crazy to me. You can't justify it right now.
Yeah, which is even more reason why you just got to pull the Band-Aid off. Listen, like I said, you have a bridge quarterback, however you think about Tyrod Taylor. You have a young guy who hasn't played this year, is on his medical redshirt season. Keep taking stabs at it, whether it's early in the draft or in the middle rounds of the draft. Keep firing at quarterbacks until you find it, and do it with the idea that you're going to clean the cap up so that there's some sort of fiscal responsibility and light at the end of the salary cap tunnel for it. That's the way I would do. No GM and head coach. I shouldn't say that. There's only 32 jobs. I get it, but I find it hard to believe that you're going to entice any GM and head coach that's really, really worth their weight to come in here saying, hey, we got Aaron Rodgers, and guess what? You're going to have $63 million worth of dead cap in 26 and 27, but we got Aaron Rodgers at 42. It's just not working.
Ladies and gentlemen, some super chats here. Thanks to everyone for the support. Mr. Flowers says, if Rex hired outstanding coordinators at entertain, we need a leader of men and someone who can handle New York. I mean, if Brian Dable was the OC, Rex is the head coach, and Rex hires the rest of the staff, he had a really good staff in 09 and 10. I'll listen to it. I would prefer someone who's coached more recently and had more success. I do agree with the philosophy, though. This is not a job for first-timers. I think they need to go the experience route at GM and head coach. If I was leading this search, that's what I would be leaning on. Look, if you can get Ben Johnson, great. I'll take my chance on the top offensive mind in the cycle. The Jets never do that, but I don't think he'd come here. There's no quarterback in place, so I don't think he'd come here. So assuming I can't get him, Dom, to me, experience has to be the strategy with this search this go around.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that we're going to, we're going to see, and we're going to take what we can get. Experience might be, people either lean towards experience or they lean towards the offensive mind, and that's just because we've done the opposite, right? We brought in these new guys, these up and coming defensive minds, whether it was Bowles or whether it's Saleh, so on and so forth. So I think just, our eyes are kind of glued into new defensive mind doesn't work. Let's go old, or let's go offensive mind. I just think you have to get it doesn't matter to me if it's offense or defense. It really doesn't. It just needs to be the right guy. We need to find the right guy.
Super chat from John, who says we should hire Brian Flores, but Josh McCown as the OC and sign Sam Darnold. Flores at head coach and McCown at OC. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued.
I'd love it. I don't know about Sam. That one is
that ship sailed. I don't think he'd come back here anyway. And plus, you're going to give Sam Darnold the bag after one really good year and like,
half a good year. Yeah. Half a good year so far.
I don't think people have paid attention to how Darnold's played of late.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's Sam Darnold, 2024 version comes out, like a smoking gun, and kind of fizzles off and fades into the sunset as the season goes on, man.
Snake Plissken. Rodgers was a major catastrophe. Not all his fault, though. You know, he got hurt. And I guess we'll never know what he would have been if he played last year. I think that really did damage to his athleticism. I don't think he's ever been the same necessarily coming back from that. Look, he tried. He took the largest pay cut in professional sports history before Jalen Brunson did something similar with the Knicks to surpass him this past offseason. It didn't work, right? It was still the right move. That's my biggest thing. Oh, how could they have done this? I mean, really? Go back and ask yourself, what should they have done? Unfortunately, missing on Zach Wilson and the options that offseason, the best path to try and win was going after Rodgers, the same way the Bucs brought in Brady and the Broncos brought in Peyton. Just we're the Jets, so it never works, but it was still the right move. It just didn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah. It was the right move. And the ship has sailed, man. It's time to move on. Time to move on, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps in order to move on, we have to go to our past.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. You tried to throw him away, but this man's coming back. Sometimes he's fat or thin. That waistband makes him slim. He's got the fix you need. They call him sexy. Rexy.
Fuck Gruden, he's no Jet. I'm here to crack some skulls. I'll turn these boys to men. This team is stacked with pros. Hire me, you won't break your purse. I'm here to break the curse. They call me Sexy Rexy. Fuck all you naysayers.
Ooh, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy.
Yeah. Let's go, baby.
I want to know how Gator superimposed Rex's head on Nick Shine's body. I think it's phenomenal.
Oh, my God. That is tremendous by Gator. Let me say this, all right? If we're going to do the Rex thing, right, he has to be fat Rex or it won't work. Dom, I know you're not the biggest Rex guy. That's not what you want them to do. But you must admit, there's a higher percentage chance of it working out if he's fat Rex rather than lap band skinny Rex.
Yeah, that's true. That's the same thing. Like, Daboll's another guy who, if he was, and I think he stays in New York, but if he wasn't, he would go right up there with Flores to the top of my list. But I want the pre-Ozempic Daboll. I think
he gets fired, Dom. You tell me you could get Daboll as the OC with Brian Flores as your head coach. Those two work together in New England. That would be a hell of a coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't think he gets fired. I really think he stays on. But I mean, sorry, Giants fans. I hope he gets fired.
I think he's going to. We'll see, though.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Man, sexy Rexy. Mike D's nuts in the house. Rodgers behind last year's O-line would have been a train wreck.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. But, you know, maybe he would still have more athleticism to overcome some of that. It's just cruel he got hurt because really, if he played most of the games last year and the team underachieved, they would have a different coaching staff going into this year in all likelihood, and there would have been time to maybe salvage it. Like maybe Mike Vrabel's the Jet coach this year if last year's season actually happened with Rodgers playing quarterback for a lot of it, but we'll never know. And it didn't work. It was the right move to get him. I have zero regrets with the approach to bring in Aaron Rodgers. Just unfortunately, it didn't work, but, you know, that doesn't mean we have to sit here and be like, how could they go after Rodgers? Okay, you want a Derek Carr? You want a Jimmy Garoppolo? You wanted to run it back with Zach Wilson? Like, give me a break. Stop being a fraud if your big take is, how could they have brought in Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, okay, I'm sure you were saying that at the time when this fan base was energized and more excited than I've ever seen them in 15 years.
Oh, man.
I digress. More of your calls. Kyle Clifton's up next. Hello, Kyle. Kyle, you're on mute, so we can't hear you.
Hey, guys.
Hey, bud.
So a couple of quick hits before I get into the Athletic article. Jake, I'm a little depressed about how young you are. Snake Plissken was a character in the seminal 80s movie Escape from New York. Russell.
My bad.
There you go. Another one is Spytech, the Tampa personnel guy. Sounds like a guy who worked with Belichick in the past.
I don't know
Spytech.
But
I wouldn't be surprised.
And slam piece and hit piece are two very different things. We got to be very exacting with that. The Athletic article. I am a subscriber. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. but I don't understand why we would bench Rodgers rather than just put him on IR. Like, there's a purpose in putting him in IR to preserve him from injury and keep him healthy. You know, we cut him at our discretion, not on any other timeline. But if you're just benching him, you're just doing that to embarrass a veteran, a guy who's a 4-time MVP. I don't get where that comes in.
I wouldn't bench him. I'd either put him on IR or I'm playing him here. I don't understand the point of benching him at this point.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't had a chance to read the article yet, but I'm wondering why they have that verbiage in there. It's kind of a big distinction to me.
Well, that seems to be the motif of Rossini and Rosenblatt's articles, is that they spin words to portray one thing that might not, because Rossini already backtracked on the first article and said that, well, Woody didn't really say he wanted A-Rod benched. He suggested that maybe he should, sit to rest his ailing knee. So who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm not a Rossini fan. I'm there for Dane Brugler and Dane Brugler only. So
yeah. Thanks,
guys.
Well, Kyle, I'll tell you what. You want Dane Brugler. You're looking at the next Dane Brugler right now on your screen. The great
your mouth to God's ears, man.
One of the greats. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Custom Bourbon Tours. Jet fans, it's been rough. You need a vacation. Go to CustomBourbonTours.com right now and book your trip down to Kentucky and get yourself the finest of all bourbon tours you're going to find on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. CustomBourbonTours.com. Shout out to them for being an awesome sponsor of the channel. Let's say hello to Devin, who's next. Hey, Devin.
Ooh. Hey, bro. Hey, Dom C, man. Hey, it's nice to be on with you guys. You hear me okay, Jay?
We hear you, Devin.
Sir. Awesome, man. So I had a different perspective, man. So I love everything that you guys have been talking about, but I'm kind of going crazy with some of this points that Jets fans are making. First and foremost, I'm thinking I want to go different. So we really there's some head coaches that we really like, right? There's the opportunity to hire them. Well, actually, I'll do this with one coach. If we could hire Vrabel, I would hire Vrabel and have Vrabel sit in on the GM interview process, because he can give unique perspective to what he want to run, how he want to run his system, and what kind of players he's looking for. And so that's the only one I would do that with, though. And I think that would be worth the shot. The other thing that I'm keep hearing a lot of the pundits talk about is that this quarterback class is not that great. So if the quarterback class is not that great, why don't we just look at building the team, based off the needs that we really need, and then saying, hey, Tyrod, you're on the contract, you're starting next year. So we take Tyrod. Tyrod is our starter. We see what we have with Jordan Travis. And I kind of want to see what we got going on with Jordan Travis. Really, this year, I would like to put Tyrod out there to see what he has. You know what I mean? I'm kind of done with Aaron Rodgers. I am a big I love Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to say I was against the hire or anything like that. I was loving it. I was on board. I got 2 of his damn jerseys in my closet right now. But clearly, he is for whatever reason, he doesn't throw the ball deep. And we've been harping on that all season. Why are we not taking any shots? We should be starting the game off with Mike Williams taking a deep shot, loosening up the defense. And that also, and I think one of the things that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is the fact that if we have those deep shots, Brees is a better runner because the defense is back more. They're playing more on their heels, and Brees has better lanes to open with. So he's running the ball even better than he's catching it. You know what I mean? So it's I don't understand. So that's my perspective on a couple of things on the quarterback. I don't want to draft. If there's no good quarterback, Don, I agree with you. The Shedeur Sanders is the only quarterback that I think that is worth his salt coming out of college that I would want to take a shot on. But then you got that circus with his pops. I don't want to do that. We're not in a place to be able to handle that right now. So let's build in the spots that we need. We need to put a monster next to Quentin. We need to look at our linebacking core. Our secondary is decent, but if we lose DJ Reed, then what? We need to look at replacing that. Let's give some of these kids that we have, these UWFA, that we have a shot to see what they have, and then we look at going for the draft, because I don't really see this year getting any better for us. So let's find out what we have. And I think, Dom, you said that, so I agree with that. And Jake, you said that as well, man. But so that's just my points, fellas. I'll just take it off the air. I appreciate you, Don. It's really, bro. Your perspective is so, man. I love your perspective, man. I'll check you out, and on your other channel as well. You know what I'm saying? I see you on with Green Bean, yo. So, man, I love it, bro. I love Jake. You know I got love for you, man. And I'm passionate about this team, man. I don't want this to be a rebuild. I do agree it's a retool. There's so many pieces here, but let's hire Vrabel and get the GM right.
Devin, good call. Yeah, I mean,
thank you, Devin.
Vrabel would be awesome. I don't know if he would take this job, but once again, I think the theme that a lot of Jet fans fall back on, Dom, experience with these jobs. I mean, New York is a tough place to work, especially the Jets, especially the pressure, the fans, and just the losing that has engulfed this franchise for 14 years without making the playoffs. It's not a job for first-timers. GM, coach, get guys in with some experience. That, to me, is the biggest thing this franchise has to do going forward.
Yeah, I think we see it in other other organizations, just how valuable and how important a good coaching staff is. I mean, listen, you see what's happening in Denver. You see what's happening with the Chargers, right? They were a middling, borderline laughingstock, with Staley there, and now you bring in Jim Harbaugh, and I mean, Christ, what are they? They're pushing for they're pushing for the 4th seed or the 5th seed. I mean, it's so important to get that aspect right, and to me, it's not only the head coach; the positional coaches matter just as much. I mean, you can't tell me that this offensive line, A, doesn't have talent, and B, has regressed over the past 2 years under Keith Carter. You can't tell me anything different. Like, they're just not, the whole thing has just been awful, man. It's been awful. And it shows how important the right leadership on the field matters.
Dom?
Yes,
sir. Thanks for spending an hour with us.
That was great, man.
Like,
it was
commiserating with all of us.
It's all good, dude. Listen, the good thing is there's hope for the future. The bad thing is we got to wait another at least 6 weeks and grind through this misery of what this 2024 Jet season is, man.
It never ends. Where can people find you, Dom, for those who aren't aware?
Listen, I'm all over the place, very active on Twitter, at DC_NY Jets. I do have my own channel, Project Prospect with Dom C. It's not Jets related. It's all draft content. A lot of good stuff coming up over, the next, month to 2 months. It's go time now. It's absolute go time. So, you'll see a lot of me all over the place.
Dom, all the love. Great to finally, hang out with you a little bit in London, and, hopefully the next time I see you in person, the Jets are in a much better spot.
Yeah, your mouth to God's ears, Jake. Always a pleasure. Thanks, chat, and we'll talk soon.
Amen. Dom C. Make sure you guys check out his work. We'll be having him a lot on the show in the offseason because it's draft season, baby. Yet there's still 6 games left. All right, open phone lines for anyone who wants in. We're cooking up a new channel emoji. We added the Woody Clown emoji the other day. The Sexy Rexy emoji is in the works right now. So we need some channel members for that. Hit the join button and become an official Asmaniac and support the channel that way. Or make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you have gift receipts turned on. And if someone is nice enough to gift the membership, you just might get one. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Your thoughts on the possibility of the Jets cutting Rodgers, straight up benching him before this year even ends. How would you feel about that? That's the question I have for Jet fans. Before we get back into your calls, I want to play a little Rex Ryan from yesterday's Part of My Take. We played you the cut on the station I host for, ESPN New York. Rex talking about coaching the Jets again and all that on ESPN New York. Well, this was Rex yesterday on the campaign trail, pitching himself to save the Jets.
Are you going to maybe save the Jets?
I'd like to. There's no doubt about it. I've let everybody know that I definitely would be interested in that job. Even though I got a great gig, I do Sunday NFL Countdown, do Get Up, as you mentioned, and things. And it's hard to beat that job. But, I think I have some unfinished business, especially with that franchise. That particular franchise is, it's my dad was there forever. He won a Super Bowl and it's super close to me. And I just think that, I would get back in it if I thought I could make a difference, and I think I could make a big difference with that team.
Yeah. So what is the issue right now with the Jets this season? It feels like a season from hell. Is it something that is foundationally going to take a while to fix, or you think it's something that, like, hey, if they do this, this, and this, like, we could be back in it?
I think if I took over, it'd be turned in about 2 minutes, because I think it starts with the passion and the energy that I would bring to that building, and the we're not going to take any poop mentality either. Like, we're going to kick your ass, and we don't care if you like it or not. But with that, it comes responsibilities and accountability from that football team. I'll take every bullet. I get it. I want my players to play fast, and I want them to be relentless. And right now, here's what I see with that football team. I see a team that plays with effort. Everybody in the National Football League plays with effort. But I see a team that doesn't play with the enthusiasm that you need. And I think that would change in a second. The minute I got there, it would change, and it would have to, or the guy would be down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest thing. And then obviously, that offense is about 20 years behind its time. Like that thing is, that's the old West Coast type stuff. And there's guys, boy, they talk like they're freaking geniuses. And the great thing is, I love going against them. I can tell you where every damn play's going. Well, I've been coached for 8 years and can tell you every play. And so I think that's something that needs to be flushed out. And you've got to start new. You got to have, get up with times offensively, use your, come out of the huddle quick, use shifts, motions to help identify things and get yourself in a great play. And, there's people out there that obviously, quite honestly, be a hell of a lot smarter than me. But those would be the guys that you would hire and bring some energy and excitement. I think that's the missing thing, and obviously, I would think you got to stack up wins. And with this team, I look at a team, this Jet team, from a physical standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, this team is close to being a dominant football team when you look at it talent-wise. Why the hell they're not playing to that level, I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, I'm trying to, it's crazy, but I know when I get an opportunity to interview for it, I'm going to get the job. That's how I feel about it. If I get that opportunity, great. If not, they want to go a different direction, then so be it. But I can tell you one thing. I never had this kind of talent when I coached the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Never close to this kind of talent. So I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. You tried to throw him away, but this man's coming back. Sometimes he's fat or thin. That waistband makes him slim. He's got the fix you need. They call him sexy. Rexy.
Buck Gruden, he's no Jet. I'm here to crack some skulls. I'll turn these boys to men. This team is stacked with pros. Hire me, you won't break your purse. I'm here to break the curse. They call me sexy. Rexy. Fuck all you naysayers.
Ooh, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy.
I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. All right, more of your calls right now. O-Rox is next. What's up, O-Rox? O-Rox, I can't hear you for some reason. Is your mic not connected? Hold on.
How about now?
Hey, there we go.
Hey, had to change the input. But yeah, haven't seen you in a while, pretty much since the off season.
When
I was going to call
when
in.
times were high.
Yeah, yeah, really high. I was going to call in the 49ers night. I was way too upset. I couldn't watch any Jets coverage that night, mainly because I felt like, if anything, we didn't even compete. We didn't compete to the level that I felt like at least we may have had a chance. So, like, other than that, it's all about having unimaginative offense all the coaching issues. Rodgers looking like a guy that hasn't played in a year. I give him that. He hasn't played in a year, so maybe the touch is a little bit off. But also blaming him when literally blaming Mike Williams when Mike Williams literally the week before the interception was your fault, and the week after, yeah, it was his fault. But the week before was definitely wasn't Mike Williams' fault. You threw it at his feet.
In London,
I think it was the Vikings game.
I was there. Yep.
You threw it at his feet when the whole thing about Mike Williams is the jump ball. Give him a chance. He made a couple of great catches, great third down catches when we needed it, but we didn't use him the way we thought we were going to use him. Maybe he was hurt. Maybe we were giving him reps over time like Breece Hall, but like it's just a little bit disappointing the way this offense looked this year with everything we felt going in. You know, I don't know, even with Devontae coming in, it's like, what? How is not either one Devontae open or Garrett open? It's because of these concepts.
Well, they've been open, and then he doesn't throw it at times, too. Like, he doesn't want to take chances downfield. He's become a one-read quarterback.
The double clutching, it's like, all right, I don't know.
He's not the same guy. Yeah, it's very frustrating. I'll say this, though, by the way. Mike Williams had that great catch against the Steelers, and, of course, it's game winner. I don't think he's caught a pass since, by the way.
Not since, but yeah. At the same time,
I'll take the fifth-round pick for him in hindsight. I mean, they traded the third for Devontae. They had two of them. At least they got a fifth back for Mike Williams. I mean, but that's the thing, though, right? They move on from Rodgers. This idea that, they mortgaged their future and they're screwed the next couple of years. Well, first off, they were screwed before Rodgers got here. They tried it. It didn't work. Second off, they have all their draft picks, and if they move on from Rodgers, which it feels like based on this story today and just, reading through the tea leaves on how this year has gone, they're going to be set up with $80 million in cap next year. Like, it's not all bad. Now, they don't have a quarterback, but they didn't have one with Rodgers. So that's part of the problem here,
This is my last thing. Rex Ryan is close to my heart because it's one of the first times I'm 38 in my life that I felt like hope for the Jets. Me and my dad were having a good time watching the Jets. He's not really a Rex guy. He didn't like him when he didn't like him that much when he was there. But it was a good time. We were in 2 AFC championships. What do you think about this? Rex Ryan at coach. Dayball at offensive coordinator. I know they don't have a connection, but it's definitely possible.
They run in the same circles, though. They know each other. And Dayball, by the way, was a quarterback coach for the Jets under Mangini in 08.
That seems like that. I'm not a guy that knew all of our intricate coaches back then. I do miss Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards is a good time too, but
love Herm.
But yeah, that's all I got for today. Missed you guys. I've been too angry to call in lately. So I didn't just want to be a fucking negative Nancy up here. Sorry for the curse. My bad.
Oh, Rocks. Good to hear from you, man. Good to hear from you. Sad what this franchise has done to great fans like O-Rocks. Will O-Rocks start calling regularly, though? Will he make a run in March? As Maniac Madness is coming, man. This guy will be in the tournament. PBM is next. Hello, Mike.
Yeah.
Nice blanket there, Mike. Are you going to be lying down there all day? Look at you.
I don't feel too hot.
Where's the dog?
She's over here. See
There
her?
we go. Yeah.
We put the tree up yesterday.
I love that for you.
Anyway, Devontae's as good as gone, right? He won't come back, you think?
Yeah, I mean, if Rodgers is not here, I don't know why he would necessarily be here. Now, I don't know what he wants at this stage of his career. I mean, if the Jets offer him a contract extension, would he consider it? Maybe, but I would guess he's probably gone.
So, if we don't like our quarterback options in the draft, is there a top receiver that we would get then?
Or a defensive tackle, corner.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
PPA.
Yeah.
I mean, what they could do, too, is they could always trade back into the end of round one if they really want to come up and take a maybe they like Milrow, but they don't want him in the top 10. Come back into the end of round 1, they take him. You could do that. The Ravens did that with Lamar Jackson.
I'm thinking with Rex too. What does his son do with the Lions?
He's an assistant wide receivers coach on the Lions.
I wonder if he would try and make him like the offensive coordinator or something.
He wouldn't be he wouldn't be the OC, but he would be. But my big thing is, so the Lions have Mark Brunell as their quarterback coach. If you hired Rex, would he bring Brunell with him, who he knows and coach with the Jets?
Could be. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Or we bring
Whatever
back
hope we have.
Schottenheimer and really get the band back together, baby. Shotty!
Bring back Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur.
Honestly, Mike LaFleur is a way better OC than most of these guys they've tried since Schottenheimer.
I heard this today too, and someone said it in the chat, that if we cut Rodgers, he goes to the 49ers. I could see that actually happening with Purdy being hurt.
I could see it.
And the team being good and him lighting it up.
Yep.
I could just see it happening. It
see
would
it.
be so Jets.
Honestly, if Rodgers gets cut, I'm rooting for him to play well elsewhere. I really am. Because I don't blame him for this nonsense. I really don't.
I've loved Rodgers forever.
Me too.
Him and Peyton Manning were my favorite quarterbacks growing up.
And I'm not going to
it's
sit here
hard
and
for
act
me to hate him.
like I'm not going to sit here and act like Aaron Rodgers is the reason why this team is 3-8. Like, he has not been great, and I expected him to play better, but he's clearly playing hurt. And also, like, at the end of the day, like, he was supposed to have an elite defense. He doesn't. He was supposed to have an elite kicking game. He doesn't. Like, they scored 27 points last week. He was awful in the first half. I get it, but it's like they shouldn't be 3-8. They shouldn't be 3-8. It's just I'm so tired of everyone blaming Aaron Rodgers for everything. It's like it's not what's happened here if you actually watch these games.
If Joe Douglas wasn't such an asshole and solved the kicker issue, we would be 6-4.
At least.
With a defense as bad as it is and the offense as mediocre as it is, we would be 6-4 if he just got his head out of his ass. And we even said that at training camp. When I went to training camp and I showed the video, I was like, wow, Greg missed the kick again. I actually have that on my phone. And I think the guy's name was Seabird or whatever the hell his name was
Yeah,
nailing
he
it.
miss. Yeah, he's been great for Washington.
So I don't understand.
But also, it
You
makes
know,
Douglas look worse. They brought in 2 kickers since, right? Like, the kid that kicked the night we were at the game against the Texans on Halloween, hit all his kicks that night. And then look what happened with Carlson, who was great against the Indianapolis Colts. He hit like a 58-yarder in that game. And it's like, just shows you, like, if Joe Douglas wasn't asleep and just made a kicking move earlier, you could have still salvaged part of this year and been competitive here down the stretch. Like, it's not that hard to find someone that's a replacement level or better kicker. That's all this team needed to have a couple more wins right now, which is insane.
Crazy. But you got Mr. Bonesy over there, who I love. Just keep making excuses for JD. JD's not perfect, and he's average at best. Average at best, and he had to go. Too many critical
generous.
mistakes. Too many
Mike,
critical
thank you.
mistakes.
Enjoy the couch, the blanket, the whole thing.
Yeah. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, PBM. If anyone wants in on the conversation, now's your chance. Open phone lines for those who want to talk. Jets, I'm going to gift a membership right now because no one's gifted one yet. So let's pay it forward to the people. If you want a membership, here's how you do it. You like the video you're watching, and you subscribe to the channel. Before you do that, though, in your settings on YouTube, you make sure you have on that you want to be able to receive a gifted membership. And if you get gifted one, you'll know very, very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, the membership gift has been paid forward. Let's find out who got it. If you hear your name called, you are officially an Asmaniac listener. Big T Charlie is the recipient of the membership. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get to more of your calls right now. It's not often that we have a heavy hitter like this guy on the line. Oh, hold on. Ryan Gresham has gifted a channel membership. Oh, baby.
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed, too.
Jets Flight Plan, the recipient of the channel membership. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he tried to sing us The national anthem. The great Robert C. is back with more. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Jake. Is it working this time? I hope.
It's not great, Robert. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, it's not the computer. It's the if you stream with the computer on the same connection, it has to do with the phone and its processor. I mean, it's the that's what the problem is.
When was the last time you got a new computer?
Quite a while ago. We've got an old Chromebook, and if the phone has a weak processor, it has trouble. So
my computer went down, and
yeah,
my desktop went down.
yeah. Tammy's gonna try to get another one.
Well, I'll tell you what, Robert. We can hear you just
I
enough.
can't
If
even
still
see you
want
on
to sing.
StreamYard here.
I know that it's not working. It's only allowing me to have you full screen.
Here's Tammy. All right, I'll see you later, Jake. We'll see what we can do here.
You could sing for us, Robert, if you have it in you.
No, I don't, because I'd have to have the lyrics in front of me. So some other time when I have that ready.
I'll tell you what, Robert. Even though your connection's not great, this was still a great call.
I appreciate it, Jake. Thank you.
You got it, Robert. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert C. He'll be making a run in March. Telling you. Rick Kent says Robert's on dial up. Sean says this dude better hit the rankings. Molin says stop watching porn on your computer. That's where we're at. Genergy says, can we talk about another sucky team so we don't feel so bad? Well, that's the thing. If you paid any attention to the NFL this year, there's a lot of sucky teams. I mean, look at the draft order right now. The Jets, after Cleveland's win, are picking 6th. That means there's 5 teams that have been worse than them. There's a lot of bad teams in the league. Just some of those teams the Jets are picking behind didn't have the expectations the Jets had. That's what sucks. Let's say hello to Joe Mike, who's next. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Jake, how you doing? I tell you, Jake, I was going to call in and bash all the people who want Rex, but then after you showing that clip, you know, it's hard not to fall in love with what Rex is saying. But, you know, here's one thing. We all love Rex. Every single Jet fan loves him. You know, if he comes and flames out, then the aura of Rex is gone. And that's what's usually going to happen with the Jets. You know, it's better off we go in a different direction. You know, but man, it is alluring and tempting when you hear him talk. I like Vrabel. You know, he should have got the New England job. I wouldn't mind having him be our coach and stick it to the Patriots twice a year. Same thing goes with Flores. You know, he would stick it to Miami twice a year. You want coaches that have vendettas against our division rivals. I think that's where we should go. But the other thing I'm confused about too is now they want to cut Rodgers. Didn't Woody fly to bring Rodgers here, and now he's going to get cut? It's so confusing what's going on. I don't know what to make, you know, heads or tails anymore of what's going on with this Jet team, Jake. I really don't know. As a Jet fan, we're just like here scratching our heads. The guy is playing hurt, but that's what Rodgers does, right? He's a warrior. He goes out there and he tries to play even when he's hurt. If he gets cut, it's because he wants out. He's probably had enough, especially losing Salah and JD. Those were what he wanted. I don't know, Jake. I'm just lost for words anymore.
I know
with what's going on with the Jets.
Well, I mean, look, the reality is this, right? Whether Aaron's cut now or he's cut after the season, he's not going to be here next year. All signs point to that. We're going to have a new GM, a new coach, and I'm focused on, as a Jet fan, the process to hiring the right people. Because we could say, hire this person, hire that person. That doesn't mean Woody's going to do that, and that doesn't mean it's the right answer. But I want to know about the process to hire those guys. Who's Woody bringing in to help him with these decisions? Who's consulting on his behalf, right? The Commanders had new ownership. They brought in Bob Myers and Rick Spielman to help Josh Harris hire Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. I want to know who's in the room helping the Johnson brothers come up with candidates and asking the right questions of these candidates and identifying the right people. Because until you get the right people in charge, it doesn't matter what happens. It's not going to turn around as we've seen. But it can turn around if you do get the right people. Houston did it, and they have the same ownership. The McNairs didn't sell. Cal McNair's a bumbling buffoon. At least that was his perception before he hired Nick Caserio, who then hired D'Amico Ryans. You got to get the right regime in here. That's the bottom line.
But Jake, do we have confidence that Woody could do that?
No, but Texans fans had no confidence in Cal. So Knicks fans had no confidence in Dolan. You got to hope a blind squirrel can find the nut and you get the right people.
Do you remember what Woody did the second after the Super Bowl was done?
Yeah, here come the jerseys, baby. Yeah.
He's tweeting about jerseys.
Stinks.
That's all he cares about. We all want competent people in our office, right? We don't want a circus anymore. Jet fans are done with circus. Rex will bring in a circus. We don't want primetime games. We don't want hard knocks. All we want is capable people running our team.
Well, the pushback on Rex, I mean, Rex won here, right? It was a while ago. I get it, but Rex wants the job. He cares. I would have questions about who the GM is, who his staff is, but I don't know if it'd be a circus with Rex. It's a circus right now. It's been a circus since Rex left. Really, I mean, Rex would come in, and you can't tell me the team's 3-8 if Rex Ryan were their coach this year. I'm not saying it's the right move. Rex is not my first choice. He's probably 5th on my top options. But you know what? You can't tell me that Rex wouldn't be a better option than maybe a first-time coach who's coming from a defensive background. I'll take my chances on Rex and hope he learned from his first go-around. His son still coaches in the league on offense. Oh, by the way, he's talked about needing to bring in an innovative offensive coach for the modern times. He said the right things. Now, whether people believe him or not, or Woody believes him or not, that's a different discussion. But I don't know. You could do a lot worse than Rex Ryan, in my opinion.
I mean, with Rex, it's all about what staff he's going to have. There's a lot of big ifs with that, right? But
if you hire Aaron Glenn, it's the same thing too.
Yeah, that's well. I don't want Aaron Glenn. Like I told you, my choice is Vrabel, Flores. Ben Johnson was always on the top of my list. Those are the guys I want. I mean, Ben Johnson came out and said that if whichever job he takes, he's calling plays, and I'm all for that. I want when was the last head coach we've had that called the offensive plays?
Well, you're not going to like this answer, but it was Adam Gase.
Yeah, I don't like that answer at all.
I mean,
but you know what? His first 20 scripted plays was good. It was just after that, it went to the crapper.
I'd bring Gase in for the director of first quarter play calling.
Yeah.
Let him design the game script for the first quarter. That's the one thing Adam Gase did well.
True. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jake. That's all I got for you.
Joe, I appreciate you, man. Hang in there. More of your calls right now, ladies and gentlemen. I've been dying to hear from this guy. He's been losing his mind. Before we bring him on, though, shout out to Lee Van, who super chatted us before. Shout out to NYCFC. I'm on my way to Shitty Field to support LFG. Taking a shot at the Met fan there, Lee Van. Nice. Bang! Well, good luck to NYCFC. I didn't know they were playing today. I'm not a soccer guy. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now is someone who loves Woody Johnson more than anyone. Jets Chaos joins us. Hello, Jets Chaos.
What's up, Jake?
How are you, man? How you holding up?
I'm good. Look, I think I went through the grieving process. You know what I mean? I think at this point, it's just and we have a lot of experience of this. We have a lot of experience of having to let go, realize that we were all wrong and all the hope we had was crushed, and, do the thing that we do. We get back in the huddle and we draw up another plan. So I think that's
all we could do. We're going to talk about the last 6 games here. Nobody cares. It's all about who's the next GM and coach at this point.
It's just what's next. And, now we get to debate and argue and fight with each other over what the team should be doing next.
I hope we get to a point where it's we have Flores truthers versus Vrabel defenders or whatever. I don't know what the next debate's going to be, but I'm excited.
Oh, it's happening. I mean, it already started with I don't want a defensive-minded head coach. It's to me, it's all funny because not that it's too early for me to come in really hard with an opinion of that as much as it's really, are we going to sit here and be so picky now? I don't know if we're in the seat to be so picky. yeah, we want to be picky, but at the same time, if there's, when we're competing against other teams and other organizations for these guys, for these GM and coaching candidates, I don't, I mean, is it going to be just money? Is money going to be enough to get them to select us? Because it seems like a shit show.
Well, it is a bleep show until proven otherwise. The questions that the ownership group has to, answer to any prospective candidate is that they're going to have autonomy to run the team the way they want to run it. Like, you got to tell that to any GM candidate, like, hey, like we have a history of not meddling, not stepping in. This year was a little different because we lost faith in the people we had running the show, and we felt like it was a unique year because we were all in with Rodgers in this window. Like, you got to explain it away, and you got to pay. So you got to you got to be able to sell a prospective GM candidate on that, and a coaching candidate for that as well. But you got to get the hires right. Like, I mean, the Johnsons aren't selling, so we got to put our blind faith in them maybe getting it right for once.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about, there was somebody convinced they can force Woody to sell the team. It's like, no, you can't. He hasn't done anything or any offense. Losing is not enough to get the NFL ownership or whatever to like throw him out as an owner. It's just not going to happen. He hasn't done anything to warrant that. So we have to understand that we just have to live with him, and we just have to hope that he hires somebody strong enough to literally, and this is that kind of thing. Like, people say, oh, well, if you offer them enough money, they'll come. But like, do you want an assistant GM who's just going to come to us because they want the promotion, they want the job, and then just play along with the way it's been? Or do you want, just in the nature of the candidate, do you want somebody that's going to come in and be strong enough to say, I'll take this job, but you're not meddling. Like, you're out of this. I'm going to, I'm not going to be told what to do, who to draft, what free agents to go for. The second you do that, I'm out the door. And that's the kind of character we need. Is Woody going to be willing to hire somebody who says that right to his face?
Right. I mean, I would hope so, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get a top of the line candidate. Now, how do you feel about the Rex Ryan discussion? Where are you at with Rex?
I'm kind of like, I relate to what the other dude was just saying, what Joe was just saying. I was kind of like I've always been in the camp of, yeah, Rex was great for 2 years, and everybody forgets the 4 years after that. And then when you hear him talk, the passion, and the way I see it is, if you look at his history, what Rex seems to be good at and what he's bad at is, if you give him a good team, which we did in 2009, he could come in and get some good results. If you give him too much time to destroy that good team by sticking his nose in and trying to create the roster, and he's not good at that. So I can understand the argument of, there's a lot of talent on the team still. And what he's saying is, I could come in, take this team and turn it around just by, discipline, firing them up, not letting
staff all around. Yeah.
Right. So you'd think that so I look at it as, if they brought in Rex Ryan, there might be some immediate success. Like, we would see definitely growth and improvement, because we would probably fix the locker room, and we'd have a head coach that's truly in charge. But at the same time, I don't know how that makes me feel about the future, because we've seen where he drives organizations. So maybe
he talked about learning a lot from his first go around. I think that's fair. It's just, there's just a lot of questions for Rex, the staff, who the GM would be, all that. I mean, it's tough. I love Rex, and I do think some of what happened post 2010, I think, could be directly attributed to bad roster decisions. But he had a lot of influence on what they were doing with personnel. Everyone wants to blame Tannenbaum, but he had a lot of influence there. The mistake Woody made in that era was firing Tannenbaum and keeping Rex. It's either they both stay or they both should have gone, because you can't have these half measures anymore. Which brings me back to Aaron Rodgers and why I just don't see it working out next year with him as the quarterback. And it feels like they've already made the decision to move on at some point here. But how do you feel about Rodgers and what happens next?
Well, I mean, I understand the argument that we're a better football team than what the alternatives are next year if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. But is it enough to hope for a Super Bowl? Is it enough to be a contender? And if the answer is no, why not just move forward now? Why not start building towards the possibility of being a contender now? Why
have a $63 million dead cap hit in 2 years when you can only have a $49 million one if you move off now? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just suck it up now. Take the hit now, because the truth is, all the guys we have to pay are not in 2025. Like, this is the time that we could take the hit, wipe that clean slate for 2026 and have the opportunity to keep all of our young players that we choose to keep and have a clean slate to do that. So it just makes all the sense in the world to just, and it doesn't mean tank next year. It doesn't mean throw away next year. The play we're getting at Aaron Rodgers is not so high or irreplaceable anyway. There's a chance that Tyrod Taylor or the kid, if the kid is like a miracle dart throw hit, Travis, or whoever we bring in, might give us a similar level of play at quarterback anyway. So it might not be that different of a season with or without Rodgers on the field either way.
100%. Now, I have some breaking news here from the great Snowball. The sexy Rexy emoji has been made by Snowball. And I just looked. We need about 18 more memberships because we got 2 this show. It's 20 to swap out in a channel membership here. We need 18 more memberships to add the sexy Rexy emoji to the arsenal here, Jet fans. So if anyone wants to gift the membership or just sign up to become an official Asmaniac, we will add this to the arsenal for all Asmaniac channel members. Now, Jeremy, I'm going to ask you an important question here. Yeah. How sad are you that your guy, Jeff Ulbrich, seemingly is not the guy for the job?
Okay, good luck, Coach. We love you.
I love you too, Jeremy. You look mighty cute in those jeans, brother.
It's devastating, man. I think he's got a raw deal. I feel bad for him because at that moment of his life, he was a year away from a head coaching job, right? He was one of the hot names. That's why they set him up in the Senior Bowl like that. If we would have had the year we were supposed to have and we would have won 11, 12 games with a top 5 defense, if all that would have happened, he was primed to be a head coach next year. And I think that's gone. That's like way out the window.
I know.
I think he's going to be lucky, just to find, a defensive coordinator job somewhere in the league now.
He should be a DC next year, though. I think he was in a really tough spot.
Yeah. I think that there's some team that's going to think that or believe that and think, look at the 2 years before this year, before we dismantled our defensive line and say, if you give this guy the right players and we, he's going to be the right fit for us and put that 4-3 scheme system in.
I can't believe we're talking about this. It's sad. It's sad. This whole thing is sad.
It's sad. It's disappointing. It's, I got to watch the games and still react to them. I mean, I still got 6 or 7 games left where I have to sit there and watch every play with Green Bean and react to it.
And Frankie from Flatbush, man, he's back. I love Frankie.
It's great having Frankie there because at least we get some analytics into it.
Why did he delete his old channel? I was watching one of his videos yesterday and he's got a new channel now, so I subscribe. But why did he get rid of the old channel?
When he regrets it. When he left, he had a move and he had a lot of personal life things going on, and I don't know why he didn't just pause the channel.
Right.
I don't know. And he says it. He goes, because I'm an idiot, because whatever. But here he is. He's back to up to 400 subs and he's building it back up. So I mean, and everybody here, if you're not subbed to Frankie from Flatbush, you should be.
And your channel. Plug your channel to the audience.
All right, I'll plug it. Jets Chaos. I'm already up to quarterback film. I have this separate thing I do on my channel.
Quarterback film. All right, break it down. Who should the Jets draft? Here we go.
Well, he's not coming out. He's 90% not coming out.
Great.
Everyone hates me and rips me apart and makes fun of me for this and thinks I'm full of crap. And I'm not going to argue with anybody. In 5 years, we'll see the truth. But the guy that I love is Drew Allure.
Penn State kid, right?
Yeah, I love the Penn State kid. And I know people love Sanders and people love Ward. And if you want, I mean, we're not just talking on my channel and giving opinions that are just empty opinions. We're actually showing, all 22 college games and looking at it and looking at each quarterback and looking at what they do well, what they don't do well. So we just put out a live video yesterday. It's up there looking at the kid from Penn State, Drew Allure. I don't know if I'm saying his name wrong or right, but we have I got an hour video right now out there that just breaks it down. And it's not really me. I have this guy, you probably heard of him, Tony the GM. He calls in and he has 6 categories or 6 things he looks for in a future quarterback. So that's where my channel is. We're actually looking at quarterbacks, not because I necessarily want the Jets to draft one. I do it every year. I just like to look at the upcoming quarterback draft classes.
Look at you. You have a quarterback kink, it appears.
I do. It's weird.
Dano apparently watched it. He says it was a good video.
Oh, thanks, Dano. Appreciate
there you
that.
go. Yeah. So, I mean, what are we looking at these last 6 games here? I mean, you, Green Bean, Frankie, you guys will be watching the games. I mean, are you rooting for wins? Are you indifferent at this point? How do you, from your perspective as a fan watching these games, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at I want them desperately to play the young kids. And I'm not saying anybody should tank or lose on purpose. I don't think it's right for an organization to do that. It doesn't mean I secretly won't hope the kids look great, but we still lose close games because it's just better for us and wins mean nothing. But what fans root for and what an organization should do are two different things. I don't think any organization should purposely tank, but at the same time, it's I don't care whether they win or lose. There's a victory in the losses because it just helps us for next year. I want to see the kids play. I'm going to keep my eyes while I'm watching that game now, since it means less to me. I'm going to be focused on Olu. I'm going to be watching him. I'm going to be like thinking, how's he doing? I'm going to look at Tittman still and that side of the offensive line and say,
4/5 of their O-line's in place for next year. That's not a bad jumping off point. With better coaching, you can't tell me the Jets won't have an above average offensive line next year.
And, Tony, the GM, actually pointed out, this is a good point of what makes it different than 2021.
Is Tony a former GM? Is he qualified to weigh in on such
matters?
No,
I respect his opinion at quarterbacks, but I mean, he makes some.
So it'd be like calling yourself Tony the Tiger and people confusing you for the Kellogg's guy?
Exactly. He's not a GM. But, we do what's different about this, like mini rebuild or full rebuilds, however you want to look at it, is that last time we didn't have key positions filled. We need a quarterback, but at least we go into this, like you said, 4/5 of the offensive line, maybe more if we bring Morgan in for the last 2 years of his career.
I would.
Right? I would extend Simpson now while it's cheap as possible, but like getting some continuity on the offensive line. So that's different than 3 or 4 years ago. Also, we have a couple of edges. Will McDonald has some potential, still getting better, right? We know it, at the very least, he's a good pass rush specialist. JJ, even if he doesn't fully ever recover from the injury, will probably be a good edge sealer and good at that. So those are tough positions. I know people are down on Sauce. I know he's having a bad year, but to sit, unless we're offered the world, he's still a shutdown corner, assuming we have to give him one more year to see what a new coaching staff, new culture, the whole thing. Like, you're not going to give up on Sauce, or you shouldn't. And, cornerback is an important position. And then you got your WR1 and Garrett Wilson. So, I mean, there are key positions there that are hard to fill that we already have set. So I feel like it's not a full rebuild. Like we just have to find the quarterback, get a good, competent coaching staff, and just keep the core of what's good, get rid of the cancer, because there's definitely a cancer in that locker room, and rebuild around it.
Yeah, look, I mean, there is talent on this team, and people laugh that aren't Jet fans, but I mean, AVT signed for another year, 4/5 of your O-line's in place, if that's the case. I'd bring Moses back, and why not have the same 5 offensive linemen year over year so we don't have to do the BS. They're learning how to play together nonsense. No, bring them back, and then you start on offense with your O-line intact. You have Garrett, you have Brees, you have Braylon Allen. Your identity could be a ground and pound, run first style team. You could find ways to add another receiver, tight end, etc. That's all good. And defensively, you went through it. Like, you have Quincy Williams at linebacker. You have up front McDonald, Quinnen, and Jermaine. That's a really good place to start for any defense. Secondary has Michael Carter and Sauce. Like, it's been a lot worse. Like, the team Douglas took over was way worse. Way worse. Look at the roster.
The 3 best players we had when JD took over in our minds were Denzel Mims, Mekhi Becton, and Marcus May. And none of them worked out. So that's
if you remember, he inherited Mosley, he inherited Quinnen. That's it. Because McCagnon made those moves.
There was Quinnen too. So, but 3 though of the key names that we thought were part of the core future of the team didn't work out. So, I mean, we had nothing really back then except Quinnen, right, and Moses. So, I mean, I think we're not nearly as in bad a shape as we were back then as we are right now. So, we have that. We could at least say that.
Now, you work with Green Bean on the stream every week watching the games. He's become a dear friend of yours. I've seen people suggest Green Bean for GM. Your thoughts on that?
He's said a lot of things over the years. There's tape of it that are very smart and very profound that would have been better for the organization. But the reality is, I mean, to me, it's always been a joke because I want to remind people is the management of the cap, the whole thing. And then, we don't talk about when we're wrong. None of us do, right? There's a lot of guys that we would have picked that never pan out that we never mentioned. So I don't know.
Mims. He was a big Mims guy.
He was a big Mims guy, right? So it's like Mims would be our wide receiver 1 right now. Green Bean was the GM. But No, I mean, I think that he definitely offers great insight. Like there's he's definitely had some hits. He said things that have really been, worked out. Like he wanted to trade that number 2 pick down and stay with Darnold a little bit longer. And I mean, hindsight's easy to do, but he said it beforehand. And now that looks like it would have been, if I could go back in time now where we are right now, I would definitely trade down and take the 3 number 1 picks from San Francisco and let them trade up.
It's just fascinating where they're at. Someone wrote on where's Corley. I mean, that's one of the young guys I'd love to see get some opportunity here.
Yeah. Make him WR2. Let's put him out there all the time. Give him plays, not just out there to block. He's done a great job, by the way, as a blocker. Like his PF grades are crazy. Like he's top 5 on the offense every week in PF grades because of his blocking. So I'd love to see him actually be a receiver and not just a blocker, because the kid's not a tight end, but there seem to be like using him as one.
Rich wants to know, when will we fix this decades-long failure?
Rich, man, I don't know. Hopefully soon.
I mean, I hope. I hope. I don't know.
Any younger, I'm not getting any younger. So.
You look good. You look spry.
Thanks. I'm trying losing weight, so that's helping.
You look. Wow. So you're not having any pizza or bagels in Sacramento? You're in Sacramento, right?
Yeah, I'm only on cheat days.
I see. When are you coming back to New York next? So the draft party?
That right now is in my mind is probably the most likely.
Wow. Yeah. And here I am thinking you'd be back in January for the AFC Championship game at MetLife.
I know, right? I'm telling you, because I did tell people, and I stick to this. When I'll say when, because I'll be optimistic. When in my lifetime the Jets win a Super Bowl, there's no way I'm not coming to New York to celebrate with all you guys.
You got to be at the parade.
Gotta be, and wherever we all celebrate, because we're all going to get together and have.
100%. So, I just hope I'm around to see it.
I know. Well, I'm older than you. Trust me. Like I never thought when I was like 15, 16 years old, I'd be at this point in my life still waiting for the Jets to win a Super Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeremy, I appreciate you hopping on, and I guess enjoy the bye week where you, Frankie, and Green Bean don't have to commiserate in real time watching this team. At least I don't film myself watching the Jets because I'd be canceled immediately. You, on the other hand, I don't know how you do it.
It's worse. Like no matter what you do or how you react, there's going to be people that are haters and hate you and troll you. Because if you act like positive, they hate you for that. If you act negative, they hate you for that. It's unbelievable to have a camera on you, and then like you can't please everyone. And we got 700-800 people in there, and there's a good 30 people who just give me such crap you can't believe.
How do you guys sync it up so you're all watching at the right time? Because depending on what streaming service you use, if Sunday Ticket, because you're obviously out of the market, how do you guys match it up where you're all aligned?
We use the play clock. So like whoever will figure out who's ahead, they'll pause it. And they'll say, my play clock's at 10, and we'll count ours down. 13, 12, 11, 10. Hit, and everybody hits play.
I love it. That's great.
Frankie, by the way, cheats. He doesn't do it. And then he'll be able to mask it that he's really seeing the plays ahead of us. And then eventually, after 10 minutes, he breaks character. He can't hold it because he'll react to something like, oh boy. And I'll say, Frankie, man, you're freaking ahead of us because I saw that reaction and I knew something bad was about to happen.
I've done that before. So I get alerts for things, right? I do it not with the Jets, but with baseball. I'm like, man, I just have a feeling Aaron Judge is going deep right here. And then, I already got the alert. He hit a home run. So it's I feel it. Next thing, boom. It's oh my God, how did he know that? I've done that many times over the years.
Tigo pulls that shit all the time. I'm sorry. Tigo pulls that all the time. Tigo will pretend like he's live. He does that during the draft. He uses that website to find out ahead of the announcement.
Yep.
And then starts typing in the information and acting like, I think they're going to take someone's. He does it all the time. Nick Shine totally called him on it. He said, "I caught you. You're cheating. I see you looking at the other screen."
I did that. I did that on our draft show. I accidentally. I try not to check Twitter during the draft because it's spoiled. But I accidentally was on my phone. I saw through the corner of my eye the Jets traded up, and I think I saw Corley, but I wasn't sure. So I was let me throw it out there. I think they're going to take Corley here, and there we go. So I look like a genius.
That's awesome.
Yep. Well, I just called you Frankie. Well, Jeremy, I appreciate it. Shout out to you, Green Bean, Frankie. Yep. You guys are fun to watch. I always check in around halftime and just see what you guys are talking about.
You should call in. We'll send you the link if you want.
Well, I did when I was in London. You guys called me. Green Bean called me, and I was as depressed as I was watching that.
I'll make sure you have the link every week because you're always welcome to jump in at halftime and chat.
I'll hop on. I mean, I'm not living and dying with these games anymore, so I'll be more relaxed, I guess. We'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
I'll talk to you soon, Jeremy. Thanks for hopping on.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jets Chaos. Subscribe to his channel. Real Jet fan. Deserves better like everyone else in this chat. Jalen Brunson's watching. What's up, Jalen? Although I don't think you're the actual Jalen Brunson because he spells his name Jal, not Jay. Hey, Jay, question for you. How do you feel about Frank Reich? It's been a while since he's had success, I would say. I don't want him as a head coach. If he's a quarterback coach, I'll listen. I don't even think I'd want him as the OC. I don't think he'd run a modern offense. All right, there's no one on the line right now, so I was going to end the show. But I will say we are 18 memberships away from the sexy Rexy emoji. So if anyone wants to become an official Asmaniac here, we will appreciate it. I do have someone that just called in, so we'll continue the show until we run out of people to talk to. Omari, you're next. What's up, Omari?
Jake, what's going on, man?
Hey, I just mentioned Jalen Brunson. Let's go Knicks,
hey,
baby.
Let's go Knicks, man. And I'm gonna get right to it, man. I think we need Rex in the building. I know a lot of people are talking, saying, the offense and everything of that nature, but I see how you laid it out, man. If we get a good offensive mind, pair him up with Rex, it's a win-win, And when you look at the Knicks as well, Thibodeau fits the Knicks culture. We need someone who fits the culture. We can't have any first-time head coach. Look at David Fisdale. They don't last in New York. Not saying it. We need someone who can talk to the media, who can hold players accountable, who can play the New York way. They won't last if we get a coach with no experience. And I need fans to understand that. Rex brings the experience. Yes, it didn't happen the first time around. We all understand that. But that's the closest we've gotten to the pinnacle. It's the closest that we've ever gotten. And I hear these other coaches and I understand. But a big piece that everyone else needs to understand is that this is not Jacksonville. This is New York. The Jaguars are ass. Excuse my language. But you don't hear nothing about them. You turn on every radio station, it's the Jets, the Giants, the Jets, the Giants, no matter what.
Well, New York market, man. And plus the Jets have one of the most famous athletes on the planet at quarterback.
All right.
That's why.
So and it's going to be a talking point no matter what. But we need to get Rex in the building. That's all I'm saying, man. But, I'm a huge fan of the show, like I always say, man. I went to the Denver game, and I sat there from the first quarter. I saw them miss that field goal, and I already knew where the season was going, man. It was just horrible. And Rodgers, I don't understand. I don't get it. It's not only that he's second guessing, but it's like, the energy. It's really depleting sometimes. Like you're shaking your head. You got to lead the team. We need a leader on this team. I'm going to correlate it back to the Knicks. Look at Brunson. Why do you think Randall is not here? We need people who, when we are down and out, still makes me feel like we can win, man. And that's my main piece, man. I understand the wins might not be there with Rex, but we can move in the right direction with Rex, man.
Yeah.
But,
Look, Rex's strength was taking a really talented team that Eric Mangini basically had a huge role in putting together and winning with that. There's similarities with this team. It's been a while for Rex. I know people talk about how it ended, but how much of that was also John Izek trying to neuter him and tear the team apart? I mean, Rex won 8 games with a rookie in Geno Smith as his quarterback in 2013. That 2013 Jets team is nowhere near as talented as this team. So he's not my first choice, but I don't think it's as crazy as some make it out to be to bring in Rex to change the culture, hire a good staff.
Jake.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question. The GM, doesn't he have experience with Rex?
The current GM, like the interim GM? Rex spoke glowingly about him on the radio interview on my station the other day. I guess they overlapped probably in Baltimore. I mean, Phil Savage has been, yeah.
So how do you think about Savage? I mean, Savage did find Bart and certain players as well too that are energy people that we need on this team. How do you feel about keeping that internal instead of trying to gut someone outside of the organization? At least we have someone who understands certain things so far. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like Phil Savage. He hasn't been a GM though since 2008. You could say, okay, maybe he's earned another chance. It's not like he hasn't been in football the entire time. I don't know. The only way I think you could justify you keep Phil Savage, Rex the coach, is if you were clearly like losing games the way the Bengals were losing games, where it's like Burrow's playing great, but the team around him defensively stinks. If Rodgers was playing well and this team was losing, well, then it'd be like, well, yeah, you run it back with Rodgers, better coaching, keep the front office intact for the most part. Like, I don't think you could justify it based on how this year has gone. I think you have to have a clean break from everyone in that front office. And if that new GM that comes in wants to consider Rex as a candidate, then I think it makes sense. But I don't think you just keep Phil Savage because, he'd work with Rex. Like, I don't know. That's kind of like just bringing in Izzy because he's one of the few guys that'd be willing to work with Rex Ryan as his coach and not hire his own guy.
Got it. Well, great point. All I'm gonna say to us Jets fans, it can't get worse. It can't get worse, Jake.
We say that, but somehow it always does. But like, I don't know. It's kind of hard.
Man.
Like, how could it get worse? If they lose by 50 to Seattle, would that phase us? Like, what does it mean?
Man.
What does it mean? Half the fan base is rooting for losses at this point, anyway.
Well, thanks again, Jake. Always watching the show, man, and mahalo, man.
Omari, I appreciate you. I see you're a big Nick guy, like I am. Hopefully, Woody could stumble into competent front office and coaching people, like Dolan seemingly did with Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. All right, last chance to get in here. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Appreciate everyone supporting the show. Man, for a bye week, we have had more news than ever. One other thing I did want to mention, I'll probably do a separate video on this and expand. The idea of Eric Mangini's name was being mentioned in this athletic story as a possible candidate. Look, Eric Mangini, I don't want him as the head coach, but if you told me he was involved in the front office as the director of football ops or even the GM, I would do that. Eric Mangini was really good at identifying players. Let's not forget, Rex won with Mangini's team in 2009. Now, Rex supplemented it with some of his guys like Bart Scott and Jim Leonard, etc. And Tannenbaum made some smart trades like Braylon Edwards. And in 2010, we talk about that offseason bringing in Holmes and Antonio Cromartie. But let's not forget, the 2008 Jets, that was probably the most talented Jet team I've seen. That team was 8-3 with Favre before he got hurt and it collapsed. You bring Mangini in, he could find players. I would not dislike that. That was mentioned in the athletic story we referenced that talks about the Jets potentially cutting or IRing Rodgers, which feels like that's what's going to happen here. I don't know why. I don't know why we can't just have Aaron play the last 6 or at least see what he looks like after the bye, but I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing everything just sucks. Imagine Eric Mangini as the GM, Rex as the head coach. Would that work? Hey, you won with my players last time. I'll pick the players. You win with them. We both get credit this time around. Imagine Sexy Rexy and the Man Genius running the Jets. I don't know. Never going to happen, but God. Rich says 6-0 still possible. It is. Run the table, baby. 9-8. Tom A says best Sopranos cameo ever too. Yeah, low key. It's the Man Genius. I should say hello. Eric Mangini doesn't even have a line on camera. He's just there. He's just sitting there eating his Italian meal. I forget the name of the restaurant they'd always go to and say, what's the name of the Italian spot Tony would always eat at? Jeff C. Vernon Golston. Yeah, he drafted Vernon Golston 100%. They got to wear that. But he also drafted Mangold, DeBrickashaw, David Harris, Brad Smith, Darrelle Revis. Let's look at 2006 Jets drafts. Let's go through it. All right. Eric Mangini was the coach. They took DeBrickashaw that year, Mangold, Kellen Clemens, Anthony Schlegel, Eric Smith, Brad Smith, Leon Washington, Drew Coleman, Titus Adams. Let's do 2007. The New York Jets draft class. Hold on. Obviously, we all remember the first pick that year. They traded up for Darrell. Revis, it was only a 4-player draft class. Revis, David Harris, Jacob Bender, Chauncey Stuckey. Let's do 2008. Vernon Golston, Dustin Keller, Dwight Lowery, Eric Ainge. Remember Eric Ainge? He always played well in the preseason. Marcus Henry, Nate Garner. I mean, those are some pretty good drafts. Plus, some of the free agent signings were good too. I mean, you could do worse than that. I would love Mangini in the front office. I don't know if he wants to do it. Genergy, try and call in. We'll end the show with a perspective from one of the 4%ers out there. I have made it easier for people to call in. You don't need to authenticate right now. Christopher writes in, Jake, just curious, why would the Lions, Chiefs, and Vikings get rid of their coaching staff? Look how well they're playing. Well, you're giving them a promotion, Christopher. That's how it works. You're not hiring Kevin O'Connell. You'd hire his coordinator, Brian Flores. I mean, that's how the Giants got Brian Dable. He was the OC in Buffalo. That's how the Jets got Robert Saleh. He was a successful DC of the Niners. That's how it works. And then they would bring some guys with them for promotional purposes. Like if you hire Brian Flores, I think it's likely he would poach some guys away from his current staff and offer them promotions with his new team. That's how it works. Dave says it's best for a clean break for both parties. It didn't work. It won't work. Let's go forward. Rossini's comments mean zilch. Zilch, I tell you. Joe Mike, Mangini was eating chicken and pasta. He was. That he was. All right. I was expecting to hear from Genergy when I referenced the 4% female demo. But instead, we have someone just as elite. Ladies and gentlemen, Raven is next. Hello, Raven.
Hey, Jake. What's up?
I'm hanging in, Raven. I'm hanging in.
So, I mean, that's kind of all you can do at this point. But I can't help but think that if the Achilles never happened, things would be so different right now. And I don't know if that's some sort of like fantasy or whatever, but I think it's very valid. It certainly changed who Aaron Rodgers is as a player, if anything. But I just feel like if anything, okay, maybe that first year we would have seen some of the sloppiness that we're seeing now, because it would be like that first season of getting adjusted to Aaron's cadence and all of that. And then maybe this year, we'd see that team that we basically been promised for 2 seasons now would be what the team is like. But yeah, it's just so crazy how one single event seemingly changed the trajectory of everything with the Rodgers era.
I agree with that. I really think we didn't know it at the time, but it ended 4 plays in because we lost a year. They gave everyone a mulligan. And this year we're going through now, I mean, if he plays last year and they underachieve, maybe there's a new coaching staff that could have salvaged, this run, even with this version of Aaron Rodgers. Like if Aaron Rodgers played exactly how he's played this year on last year's team, they make the playoffs. They win 10 games.
Completely agree. And I think something you said just now with bad coaching really is the crux of a lot of what we're seeing. Because if you think about it, like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers obviously isn't the same player. He's a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles. Of course he can't scramble the way that he used to, the thing that made him such a deep threat. But the one thing he still has is that arm. And, I feel like if you had a good coach would be able to scheme a certain type of way to account for that, where really all Aaron has to do is just launch that freaking cannon he has. I mean, you saw that a lot even with Tom Brady. If you look at the last 5 years of Tom Brady's career, and I say this all the time, every single play was basically, you go where you're supposed to. I'm going to get the ball right in your hands as fast as humanly possible. And then I'm going to run the fuck out of the pocket and like not get hurt. So, which is like easy to figure out, but I feel like the coaching they've been trying to pull all these things out of Aaron that just kind of aren't there anymore. And I'm not even necessarily saying that's a bad thing. This is still Aaron freaking Rodgers at the end of the day. He's just older. He's just different. We see it.
Yeah, and I also think part of the issue is They did it his way with the offense he wants to run. It's outdated. And since he doesn't have the mobility that would basically put fear in defenses, the ability to extend plays if it's not there. And that's where, like, him being on the same page as receivers would come into place because they know how to run the scramble drill. And we saw that against the Patriots in the home opener. Like, Conklin was unreal that night because Rodgers was escaping the pocket, keeping the play alive. Like, we saw what it was supposed to look like. We had one game of it. It sucks.
Exactly. And I was at that game. And that's exactly it. We've even seen like little glimpses of Aaron being able to do those things. It's just like
he got banged up after that. I think that's what happened, right? I mean, he took a beating against Denver, took a beating against Minnesota. I mean, it looked like he was going to be done for the year. He got twisted up so bad in that game, and he hasn't been right since. And that's why I was holding out hope. Okay, like, you know, for those who maybe want to bring Rodgers back as the bridge next year, like the only way you could justify it is if he plays a lot better. So I was hoping, okay, maybe the bye week he gets healthy and he could look a lot better down the stretch. But it feels like I've already made the decision he's not going to be here, and they might just cut him or IR him, and I feel like it's a lost cause.
Which is such a shame because even before he came to the Jets, he was honestly one of my favorite quarterbacks. I think if he was in a different scheme his entire career, he would have so many more rings. He's just that good naturally. And even reading his book, that just really cemented it for me. But yeah, it's just a shitty situation all around. I mean, listen, my biggest concern right now, Jake, is what the fuck am I going to do with this poster?
I mean, you should see the amount of shirts and jerseys and other Rodgers related stuff I have too. So I'm with you.
And like, it's a really cool freaking poster.
It's awesome.
Like, what am I going to do with it? I look stupid if I keep this hanging up in my apartment.
Well, I guess you could try and replace it with a Joe Namath one or something, or Chad Pennington or Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, let me I'll just like print out like a giant head of theirs and just like slap it on.
I mean, I guess you hold on to it for at least 6 more weeks to see what the plan is.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing you brought up where you said an outdated offense, that's my exact concern with this like little campaign, we'll call it, to bring back Rex and Ryan, because like, yeah, Rex Ryan, he certainly has like the right attitude, but I think he plays an outdated style of offense that I think ultimately was Bill Belichick's nail in the coffin, in that it just didn't resonate with the players and it didn't work with how the game is currently played. So I really hope Woody doesn't give in to that peanut gallery of people who want Rex Ryan back. And now I'm seeing Eric Mangini. That's I have the same exact concern with him as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, like I would much rather hire Rex than Mangini, because I also think Rex's son is a coach on the offense that's the most like innovative and successful in the league right now. Like I would hope Rex, who's watching every Lions game, would like be able to identify that's the style of offense he wants. He said as much. Now it's a difference in saying it and actually doing it, but you know, I'd give Rex an interview. I would. I'd ask him who he'd want on his staff, what would be different this time around, you know, how he's going to delegate responsibilities and be more involved with the whole team rather than just the defense. But you know, they're not 3-8 if Rex is the coach this year, Raven. There's no doubt.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, because you know, you could have him be that CEO type of coach where he delegates to his assistant coaches, and you know, you have them be that more, how do I say this, like currently minded style. They could manage that, and that would be something I'm cool with. But again, you know, we don't know. There's just so many intangibles. I mean, this whole situation is just so fucked up, honestly.
It's terrible. Well, Raven, keep calling the show, all right? Appreciate you as always.
Yep. Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, a member of the 4% female demo, Raven Heck, checking in. Now, I will say this. Bobby Midnight is protesting this show. He hasn't called in a couple days because I was a guest on the Bobby Midnight show, and I had the audacity to ask Gary if a salad is healthier than a cigarette, to which Gary refused to answer the question. So Bobby's been protesting the show, but we know he's still watching because he immediately wrote when Raven was on, "Hi, Raven. You are a very beautiful woman." So he can't help himself. Jay Quest wrote in, "Calm your freaky down, Bobby. Jesus." And you know what? Let's be fair. Jay Quest is right.
Calm your freaky down.
All right. So, Bobby, if you want to defend yourself, that's fine. But I know you're boycotting the show, but you're still watching. All right. I know you're out there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's really blow Bobby's mind right now. Jennergy's up next. What's up, Jennergy?
Oh my God, Jake. So trying to get on the show today was like going through the Berlin Wall, as Peter Castro said. I was literally like, for real. Every time I tried to sign in, it was like, is this you? Is this you? Sign into YouTube, sign into the StreamYard. I'm like, why is it taking so long for me to call in? This has never happened to me. Of course. And then my mother's FaceTiming me like, Ma, I can't talk right now. I've got to call Jake.
I love it. I love it. I'm glad we got you on here.
Yeah, man. I feel like the armchair quarterback. Do you remember Channel 7, like in New York, if you're familiar with Eyewitness News, they used to have like Scott Clark and the armchair quarterback. That's what I feel like. Oh my God, Jake. Lord. I remember meeting you in Long Island at your Long Island meetup and being like, yeah, this is going to be an amazing season. I mean, it can't be any worse than it was last season. It can't get any worse.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, but you say it out loud, right? If I would have told every Jet fan before the year,
I know,
Aaron Rodgers would have 17 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and would not miss any snaps this season due to injury, what would the record be at the Jets bye? Would they be closer to 3-8 or 8-3? You would have said 8-3. And that's what's so crazy about this year.
I know. I'm learning too, like just letting go and just being like, it's good to have little to no expectations, because then you don't get completely like shattered dreams. And like going to my first game, going to the Halloween game, I honestly was like, we might win, we might lose. And then when we won, I was just like, this is amazing. This is wonderful. It's Halloween. It's woo. Yeah, I was excited. And then it's like, you go on this ride and then you're like, oh, just kidding. And then you go down again. But what I want to know is, how are we moving forward? So like Tyrod, like definitely younger than Aaron, but also
I don't think
injury
we
prone.
know. I don't
What
think
are
we
we
know.
doing?
I don't know. I mean, Tyrod's under contract, so you have him as the bridge if you want to go down that route. I would still look to draft someone. I don't know, who that guy is. They say it's not a great quarterback class, but we know how that works. Things change once we get closer to the draft and teams start evaluating these guys.
Right.
You could trade back into round 1 and get a quarterback if you don't want to take one with your top 10 pick you're likely going to have. I mean, you have Jordan Travis. You'll see what he is next year, but I wouldn't expect much. I mean, you could be a decent team next year if you tell me Tyrod plays competently, run the ball, play good D. We're seeing it. Like the AFC's not great, and the roster still does have some talent, but it's just I don't know what the plan is. There's no obvious fix. I don't think there's a veteran out there. Like people have suggested trade for Trevor Lawrence. 1, why? And 2, his contract's $100 million in dead cap for the Jaguars if they trade him. They're not going to do that. And I don't know. Look at the other options out there. Darnold, I wouldn't bring back, nor do I think he'd come back. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's an obvious. I mean, you want Kirk Cousins if the Falcons move on and they start Penix next year? Like, I personally don't. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what the right answer is here. I think it's more likely. If I had to guess right now, I think it's probably Tyrod Taylor, Jordan Travis, and a rookie as the quarterback room.
Basically, and he's injury prone, as we know. That's why I'm like, you just toss your hands up in the air, like, and so there's just one more thing. Well, 2 more things. So I need all these guys, Sauce, whoever, they're all from down south. All these guys, they need to go home, have some collard greens, candy yams, ham hock, turkey, and bulk up and go work out, because I want Sauce, get some muscle, please. Like, all these guys need to do that. That's my first assignment. And then I made the conscious decision to go to the game next week and the tailgate. And this is not because, honestly, it's to meet like Addison and a whole bunch of other people. So I have to say, it's not about the team and this dysfunction. It's about the people, the fans that are also, we're a family. So I'm getting to meet like Addison, a couple of other people. And that's why I decided to go. Otherwise, I'd be like, nah, I ain't going.
Janergy.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing the energy, Janergy. We love you.
always. Bye,
Hang in there.
guys. Have a good one.
How about that? Back-to-back members of the 4% squad calling in. Notice Bobby hasn't called in, though. He's still boycotting the show. The Bobby boycott, folks. It's real. It is real. So much for Indiana giving Ohio State a game today, huh? I saw the score is 28-7 right now. It was 7-7, and I look back up at my TV here. It's 28-7 now. Damn. Scott writes in, so I guess people aren't still hitting the cayenne pepper. I guess not. I know I haven't had it. All right. Thanks to everyone who called in. Fun show. We're 18 members away. Oh, Bobby answered me in the chat. I didn't see that. What did he write? I missed it. Someone recap what he wrote. I can't find it. There's so many chats. Oh, okay. He wrote in, Jake, I've been busy. That's why. Don't think much of yourself. Okay, I'm sorry I was busy. Oh, okay, Bob. I see how it is. Bobby's been busy, everyone. He's not boycotting the show. Yeah, I don't know, Bob. I mean, you seem to be commenting a lot, but you can't call in. What's changed all of a sudden? Are you doing it? If Bobby does a show immediately after the show ends, I think we know that might not be telling the truth. Jared Jet writes in, isn't that why we all went to the Halloween game for the fan/family experience? Genergy's right. When it's all said and done, all we have is us. Amen. Yeah, look, I love people that are like, oh, no one show up. If you paid for the tickets and you want to go and tailgate and have a good time, that's what it is all about. Like, the team stinks, yeah, but that doesn't mean you should tell people not to go to games if they want to go to games. I mean, some people go with their families and friends, and that's what they do. You know? Ladies and gentlemen, we will end the show with one last call. We say hello to this guy.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob from Vermont. I am Bob, of course. Hello, Jake. How you doing?
Hey, Bobby.
I just been busy. That's all, okay? When you're busy, you're busy. Like you're busy.
I just wanted to make sure you weren't boycotting the show. You haven't called in a couple of shows.
No, you acted like an ass on my show. That's fine. Okay?
What did I do wrong?
You come on the show. I told you not to ask that question, and you did twice. I just don't want. I don't care about freaking cigarettes and salads. I really don't. Okay.
Why can't Gary answer the question though?
I don't know. I don't care. Ask him on your show. I don't want to hear.
I have. I'll continue to ask him the question.
Well,
we need answers.
Do it on your show, not my show, please.
I mean, the fact that he won't answer the question, I think, is alarming. No.
Well, no. Well,
No.
I'll take this. I take this Caesar salad any day.
You're not alarmed by it.
No.
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 It seems like it resonates with a lot of people, though. I mean, Indy Jets called in just to talk to Gary about it.
Well, that's his problem. That guy should mind his own business. That's who I think he should mind his own business. Don't like that guy too much.
No.
No, the way you treated my friend Gary. No, I like my friend Gary. I'm sorry.
I like Gary too. I don't understand why he thinks a cigarette's healthier than a salad.
I don't know. I disagree. You got tar in the cigarette and you got crap in there. Why do you want to smoke it and kill yourself? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Jay Quest is calling you cranky today. He says eat a salad.
Jay Quest, won't you mind your business like I told you, okay? I thought Raven was a very beautiful lady.
Oh, I knew you couldn't wait to write about Raven.
I know she's kind of cute, very pretty. And then I get to meet Jenna G at the game next week too. Jenna G.
She was at the Halloween game, wasn't she? Yeah.
I didn't meet her. I didn't see her.
I'm pretty sure Jenna G was there.
I didn't see her.
You didn't go with the Jenna G?
Nope.
at the game?
I met Leanie and I met Jay Graves. I didn't meet
Yeah, Leanie was there. Yep.
I didn't meet Jenny. She didn't come to the party thing. She was sitting in your section, yes. We were over at the other section.
Yeah,
So
there
we
were two
didn't-
sections where all the Asmaniacs were.
Yeah, I know. So you were in the section that she was in. Okay? I never met her, so I'm sorry to tell you.
Well, I'm excited for you to meet her then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you have a wonderful day, Jake.
You too, Bob. What's on the agenda today?
Definitely at 7:30, watching my Army and Notre Dame game tonight.
Big game. Yankee Stadium.
Yes. Army's gonna lose.
Where's it at MetLife?
It's at Yankee Stadium.
It is, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm going for the Notre Dame. That's my team. But I do like Army, but I don't see them being.
You sound very tired today. Maybe you should take a nap.
No, I'm not tired. I'm just I'm not like I don't have to talk excited every time. Just talk in my normal voice today.
Yeah, but you always would bring the energy, and now lately you're lacking energy. So that's
Okay,
the concern.
see, oh God, okay, here we go. You want everybody else to act the way you want them to act.
No, I want energy. We're doing a show, Bob. We
I
want to bring the
know.
passion.
I know. I will bring the passion. Okay.
All right, this is the big leagues here. This is what we
Well,
do.
I called in. You asked me to call in, so I called in. Okay?
Well, I thought you were boycotting the show, so I just wanted to clarify you weren't.
No. What does assume mean? Assume means make an ass out of you and me. So
I like to
don't-
say it makes an Asman out of you and me personally.
Okay, well, you have a great day.
That's it. We're done.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
No.
End the show.
Are you sure? Are you, he's gone, folks. Man. PA, the anger is real. Rick Kent says Bobby needs a shave. Scott Foster, Sir Grump a lot. Tony G says it's like watching a dead body. Lee Vance says boycott the show. Joe Mike, Bobby busy wearing his robe. Bobby, I feel like you got to call back in and address the commenters here. Tony G, don't get mad, Bobby. Bobby needs a salad with a cigarette, says Mike. Tony G says Jake gives this guy so much and he takes the whole arm. I mean, tough. All right, we're almost 2.5 hours in on a Saturday show. Thank you all for your support. Hit the like button on your way out of here. More importantly, please subscribe to the channel. I'm on ESPN New York tomorrow from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., so I'll talk plenty of Jets. Unlikely we do a show, but if we do one, we'll do one in the late morning tomorrow before the game start. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to get in the Discord, keep the Jet conversation rolling. Seems like there's news breaking every day. We react to it first in there. So join the Patreon first, and then you gain Discord access as one of your perks of the membership. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Wish everyone a great Saturday, great weekend. Jets don't play tomorrow, so we don't have to deal with that for at least a week. 6 games left, and we'll be here every step of the way. Thanks for watching. Go Jets, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. You tried to throw him away, but this man's coming back. Sometimes he's fat or thin. That waistband makes him slim. He's got the fix you need. They call him sexy. Rexy.
Buck Gruden, he's no Jet. I'm here to crack some skulls. I'll turn these boys to men. This team is stacked